This is a HeadGum podcast.
This week on the program, this is the one that almost broke us. It's Eternals. I'm Andrew Jupin.
Steven Sadak.
Eric Turnell.
Cabo!
And we hate movies. Hello, everyone. Welcome to We Hate Movies. Thank you for tuning into the fine program, as always. Yeah, that's right. This is the final worst of the previous year month episode. We're going out with a bang. It is indeed Eternals, directed by Chloé Zhao and Woof City population. This movie.
Oh, yeah. So you got a Sprite Turnell?
Yep.
You got a Pepsi Eternal?
Yep.
You got a Mountain Dew Eternal?
Slice Eternal.
You know what I like to do is I put some cranberry juice in that Sprite Eternal, and then I have a nice little cocktail there, but a virgin cocktail because it's a tiny little girl.
Coke Eternal? That's Martin Scorsese, I guess.
Mountain Dew, I think, would release a flavor called Eternal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, totally, dude.
It's like brown and gold or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's flying off the shelves.
Look up,
brown.
look up there. See what that Deviant's doing with my wife.
The Deviant up there with my wife.
Oh, right, yeah. So the basic overview of the plot of this film, folks.
Oh, dude, go for it.
Fine. You want to do it?
I'll be over here kicking my feet up.
No, I was just going to say that there's all these deviants and they started making art and all these like angel men got robots or got mad about it. Angel robots got upset about all the deviant art because it's all the they're putting, they're drawing Velma in a way that shouldn't be drawn.
Yeah, she don't bend like that.
They're eating fishermen. Why would you do that? Why would you do such a thing?
Richard Mann's like, I've got to stop them. That are making Sonic get pregnant in all sorts of ways. It's wrong to have Sonic get pregnant.
We gotta wipe him off the face of the earth, Cersei. The Ninja Turtles ain't supposed to do that.
We shouldn't involve ourselves in the stuff of man. World War II, let's let that happen. But then someone's drawing Mpreg, Captain Kirk, and we gotta fucking fight him.
We got to eradicate the meme lords.
I mean, I guess so. I could.
This is a Marvel Studios motion picture for those not in the know. So as such, we have to throw it to comic book expert Steve Sadak to shine some light on just how much they deviated from the source material. Steve Sadak, take it away.
So two things. One thing, I'm not an Eternals guy. This is a Jack Kirby joint, and I'm a huge Jack Kirby person, but it also is incredibly derivative of what he was doing at DC, which was better. Jack Kirby left Marvel after a lot of stuff in the early 70s, did DC stuff, created a lot of awesome characters, including the New Gods, which are very, very similar to the Eternals.
That was what What's-Her-Face was supposed to adapt into a motion picture?
Yes, which also would have been equally as terrible. If
Ava DuVernay.
Yes, if Ava I mean, maybe it could have been good, but probably not. Especially with the DC leadership, DC movie leadership being what it is. But and that's you got your dark side and your Granny Goodness, all that Snyder shit. Those characters were created out of that run.
Granny Goodness.
That's yes. Well, she said that she's very slightly in that, but Mr.
It's like a Grampy.
Yeah,
it's a Grampy. It's one of the blobs in the extended Zack Snyder's Justice League. One of the blobs that are near Darkseid is Granny.
Honestly, I feel like I'd rather watch that movie again than this movie.
100%.
I will give that.
And people are defending. People were coming at me hot on Twitter for trashing this movie. Is it just blind IP loyalty at this point? Is like, this is a Marvel movie and I'm a Marvel person.
It has to be, because I refuse to believe there are that many fans of this part of the Marvel universe. Like, well, I had never, not that I'm like a huge comic book guy, but like, I'd never heard of this.
Well, that's the thing, is the Eternal. So like the New Gods gets canceled. Kirby goes back to Marvel. He wants to continue with that idea. So he kind of makes it, and it's a very different comic. I just read a lot of it, and I actually like it, but don't love it. And I'll get into the differences in a second. But that too was canceled. and they've never like. I mean, the thing is, this series has never actually succeeded in comic book form because nobody gives a shit. And I mean, I'm sorry, like I know Neil Gaiman had a cool mini series, so that is a success in and of itself. So like, but like I feel like the rule is if you can't put out fucking 25 issues or something without getting canceled due to lack of interest, you shouldn't put $100 million into a film.
But it does make sense for the test balloon between the quote unquote phases. To make I mean, like, I hate to think of it that way, but that's how they're thinking about it, and that's how everybody's thinking about it.
It is one of the most pretentious things of all time.
It is. It's
phase one.
It's so stupid.
Two.
But like, you do. This is a perfect like no weight to it because nobody gives a shit.
Yes.
But you could do whatever you like with it. And again, hey, if it's a hit, it's a hit. But if it's not that big a deal. And what you got You set up Blade. You set up.
Did they?
Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and you set up probably a Black Knight Disney Plus series.
Yes.
And that's a good enough. That's good enough for them for in the interim of trying to get a fucking Oscar.
I think they'll probably get the second. they'll get a second Eternals out of this. It made enough money, and now there's these people coming out of the woodworks that like this movie. And again, it's okay to like a movie.
Yes,
obviously,
it's okay to like a movie. But what the fuck would they do in a sequel?
I mean, I guess. Great question.
You're totally right. I mean, that's why I think, Chris, your thing seems a little more feasible or realistic, right? Is like if they just fold this shit into a Guardians movie or whatever.
I think I'm not sure if it was Feige, but somebody came out and said we're not particularly interested in looking at more Eternal stuff.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
yeah, they said that outright, and I don't blame them.
Well, there's got to be something because listen,
I'm not either.
There's got to be something because this is not a company that gets caught with their pants down with shit like this. And this movie ends with the Eternals will return.
And also, but here's the thing, Chris. The Oscar thing is really instructive. Obviously, you got Chloé Zhao, huge prestige director. I mean, obviously, she became an Oscar-winning director while she was making the movie.
Yeah. She directed Amazon Lady.
She did.
Dude, I'd love to see fucking Kingo piss in a bucket in this film, man.
Oh, he's way too popular for that, dude. He's a super success, Bollywood star.
David Strathairn's just like, Kingo, I could have a nice home with you. Kingo, we could. I know we have had bad lives separately, but we could make something new. Kingo,
dude, Strathairn wakes up in the morning. He's making that breakfast, and he fucking goes into the bedroom. And Kingo jumped out the window, running across the backyard to get out of there.
Yeah, starting up his shitty van.
Yeah. Sprite dies of exposure. They have some weird fucking hobo funeral for her.
Oh yeah, you gotta fucking burn that thing on a pyre, dude. Absolutely. So like, I mean, yeah, Steve, I think the whole thing, I never thought about it because I didn't know the history of it, but yeah, like if you can't make a comic run work, why would you make this into a movie? I mean, like,
Kirby only got 19 issues out of this fucking thing before they were like, please stop.
That's
the
like
master of comics.
The whole, like, run of like a television series on one disc DVD. You see that like the fucking Emerald sitcom, complete series on DVD, and it's a single disc. Like,
why not bring Mantis back as a major motion picture? Let's do that.
Oh, hell yeah.
That was a time in the comics, right, that they were just doing comics of everything. I mean, I was Googling Black Knight after seeing this movie, and it's just like, there's comics for everything. Oh, yeah. But Eternals, I'm sorry, there's like nothing to grab on here for me as a viewer, because I didn't read it, I'm ignorant or whatever, but it's like at least like a regular superhero movie I could wrap my head around. Oh, a guy in a cape, he's got to keep his identity or whatever, but this is like, they were kind of like angels or something. Anyway.
Well, that's part of it that's fucked up, right? And Steve, you can speak to this more again, obviously, but like the changing of the source material, because they were not angel robots in the comic series.
What were they?
The coolest thing, I mean, and this is what I really like about they kind of are. The Kirby series had basically Earth is just a bunch of apes, and then a celestial came down, did some genetic experiments, and created 3 different races. One being Eternals, who are beautiful godlike people. 2 being humans, and 3 being deviants, who are, FYI, just monsters that have voices and intelligence, and they have
humanoid-shaped monsters.
Yes, they can drive cars. They have like cool guns and ships.
All the
people
in my Twitter mentions,
all the deviants, not flowy space dogs that make no sense.
Steve, are they like? Is it like a Mr. Smith? Are they all like? Do they look the same, or are they?
Oh, no.
Do they all have their own character?
No, they all have totally different characters. Like,
cool.
One's pink,
That's
one's green, one's blue, one's whatever, and like they have horns, they don't, and all this stuff, and it looks really cool. You know what I mean? And I think that Bill Skarsgård is the king of the deviants in this movie. Crow, who's actually a Kirby creation as well, who actually in the comics fucks Athena, Angelina Jolie. They have like a secret romance kind of a thing. That's a cooler idea than anything I've seen in this movie by far.
And this movie, like the tail end of this movie, when they're like in the cave on the island, and he's like talking to her or whatever. And this movie is kind of suggesting all that, but like this thing just learned to talk 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
And this whole idea that they're running around from these motherfuckers, the deviant this and deviant that, and it's just a bunch of different kinds of animals strung together with a bunch of neon cable. Like,
yes.
You don't have a mustachioed blah blah. I mean, honest to God, say what the fuck you want about that Spider-Man movie, but like, you know what's in that? It's chock full of villains, and they're talking at Spider-Man, and they're a direct threat to Spider-Man, and you understand like their motivations, like
yes,
and and think about the scene like when God, these names, when Icarus, right, Richard Madden, is that the actor's name?
Yes.
Throws Salma Hayek off that cliff onto the ice, and all those deviants murder her. If that was a rad thing where she was like fighting people that were attacking her instead of just like these animals, like get out of here.
Well, they did that too with which is a movie that I like a lot more than this. That Shang-Chi. It's a really cool movie, and then all of these weird gray goblins cut out of a mountain, and I'm like, oh, so that's what we're doing? Like, I don't care at that point.
Yeah.
Like, I love Shang-Chi's father because he's a fucking actor that wants to beat the shit out of somebody. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah, yes, I agree. But for this, like the dog people and shit, I don't know what's going on, and I can't stand it.
It's because they don't want to actually have like. It's already too stuffed as it is. Can you imagine if this had actual like fully realized like Doc Ock level fucking villains? This movie would be 7 hours long.
Right.
And like honestly, this is one of the few movies I'll say it would have been better as a TV show. This should have been your Disney Plus, because you suffocate this movie by putting so much story into it and having to flip back and forth to how this all came to be, to also what's happening with fucking Ajax and who killed her. Oh, it's definitely not Icarus, even though it's very clearly him. It's just like it's so much story, and I'm supposed to also like have fun and feel light. It's impossible. No, you're asking too much.
On top of that, they commit all the fucking cliche shit like, okay, well, the Eternals are now fighting each other. Oh, and now they're back to being together again. Yay. Well, Icarus went away, but yay.
And I gotta say it now, the worst thing that ever happened to fucking Marvel is Kevin Feige learning that you could actually film a sunset. It's the worst fucking thing, because this is the worst looking of the bunch, I think.
I'll disagree there. I think that there are some really interesting, not interesting with a capital I, but good looking shots. I think the Celestials look cool. I actually like the volcano setting for the end of the film. That it's in daylight on a beach. It's better than fucking just some Atlanta fucking garage. You know what I mean?
But it also just looks like a fucking, like, I know that it's hack to say this, but it looks like an Apple commercial. Like literally all of it looks like Apple commercial shit.
Well, the other problem with like the end of it, and like we'll get to the chronology of the movie and as much as we can, but we're jumping all over it, and it's fine. But I realized again, one of the biggest problems I have with this movie is how remote everything feels. There are so few like tertiary characters because you're insisting on cramming 10 of these fuckers, 10 Eternals.
Way too many.
Yes.
Versus like you'd have, Fantastic Four or like the X-Men, there's a core group. This is 10 fucking people that they're all trying to give weight to. And then like when you have scenes like in like Central America when they go and get Druig and the fucking dumb animals attack that village, all of the people like run away and it's just the Eternals fighting in an empty forest. The thing on the island, it's an uninhabited island.
Yeah.
So it's just the Eternals again. Eventually you sort of feel like they're in like a fucking holodeck program or something.
Because I mean, the stakes become very low. I mean, like the stakes are incredible, or as high as any Marvel movie's ever been, if not higher. But you don't feel that because you don't actually have any humans that actually matter, which is a mistake.
Like again with the when this whatever they call it, like the birthing of this celestial out of the earth, right? If that happened someplace that was like populated, then you could at least have some shit like, Independence Day type city-ish 75 9/11s maybe kind of destruction shit, or like people actually being like, oh my God, there's no reactions to this thing until after it's all over with, when there's some newscaster 2 weeks later like, yeah, that huge hand that came out of the earth and then magically turned to marble. People are still asking, what's going on?
So, people probably call us hypocrites or whatever, because we said on, like, I think Batman versus Superman episode that, 75 9/11s is too much. But honestly, give me fucking something to look at. I mean, give me some collateral damage. Give me something.
As opposed to people just blasting each other with yellow light for 45 minutes.
Or wire dogs. You'll get a lot of wire dogs, and the wire dogs are very dramatic.
If these were like big, furry fucking beasts, and like Kingo's like shooting lasers through them and there's blood mist or something, sure. But the thing is, like, he's shooting lasers out of his fingers that look like, fake garbage into other fake garbage. And then there's, 10 of these fellers and ladies, and then they stand around. They mope. They question life. They fight the big God guy, baby dude. Sort of, not really. It's sort of. It feels like just everything just happens passively.
She just pacifies it at the end.
Yes,
it is an interesting thing because part of this movie is alluding to climate change, and it's funny that they actually do have a solution. Create a huge glacier out of the God being to dislocate all the glaciers that are melting away. Create a new one out of the God baby that's being birthed out of the planet. That'll fix it.
Is it frozen or is it turned into marble?
It looked frozen to me.
It looked frozen to me too, but I'm looking on Wikipedia. I'm seeing marble, so I don't know what that is.
Because I think the thing is, at one point she's like, "Oh, yeah, I'll just freeze it, and then we'll figure out what to do later." Like this, the solution to this movie's problem at one point is like, we'll just kick it down the road and like, I'm going to hide under a pile of coats and hope everything works out.
Are we sure they're not humans?
Honestly, it's better off if it's marble. Marble doesn't melt. We're good, baby. We're set.
Right, to raise the levels of the ocean.
Yeah, we're good, baby. Don't you fucking worry. We just killed a fucking God being. We did it, baby.
Yeah, it's like a whiskey stone or something.
Yes.
Bob Hoskins comes out and yells out, "I meant ice!" And runs away. Yeah, so I mean, whatever. It starts off and we realize we get a brief idea that Eternals are space beings that are work at the pleasure of the Celestials, who are enormous space gods, and we see them on their ship on the beginning of their mission to Earth, and Ajak is Du Bois, and she wakes up. Icarus.
This is Salma Hayek's character.
Yes.
Right.
Icarus.
Named after a cleaning product.
Yeah, she got I think Thor's like hat when he was a teenager on sale. This thing she's wearing on her head for most of this. My God.
And she wakes everybody up, and a big problem with this movie. So Richard Madden and Gemma Chan meet each other, and he's like, "I'm Icarus," and she's like, "I'm fucking Cersei." Cut. And just nuts. I mean, like, they have zero chemistry, folks, and it's a big problem.
They're both terrible actors. I feel like that's exposed now.
Yeah. Gemma Chan started as a robot. It's important to remember that's what she was first acclaimed for.
Also, we can't.
What? Wait, what?
She's
Humans. It was a show on BBC and I think FX or Hulu.
Oh, right, I know that show. Yes,
she was one of the leads of it, and that was her first like big break.
Maybe she's actually playing a really good robot. Maybe I should be complimenting these performances.
There you go.
Holy Toledo!
And maybe the family in Crazy Rich Asians was so rich they could afford to have an android built and call it a daughter that was played by Gemma Chan also.
Oh yeah, android wife. Those are all the rage in Asia.
by the way, also you can't have Robb Stark and Jon Snow in a movie saying Cersei all the fucking time.
I mean, A, just you can't have them both in the same movie, and B, you shouldn't because neither of them are any fucking good. I'm sorry.
And fucking Kit Harington doesn't even get a chance. He's basically not in the movie.
I don't understand what they're trying. I mean, I know that they're trying to set up the fucking Black Knight or whatever.
That's it.
Like,
that's really it.
But I mean, like, it's just, and that's the thing too. Is I mean, you want to, and you said it, Chris, because it's very obvious that this movie was supposed to be Marvel's push towards legitimacy, push towards an Oscar. Then you have to leave those trappings at home and make a movie that begins, middles, and ends. You can't have the post stinger sequence. Like I just keep thinking of like that scene at the end of the Seinfeld episode where George is in his underwear and Jerry comes in and is like, and you want to be my latex. And it's like, and you want to be the best picture of the year. That's not how that works.
Well, Steve, there's another there's another way you can do it. You can just complain and cry and whine to everybody about how you're the richest person in the world, but you don't have an Oscar. I don't have an Oscar. Could you give me one, please?
Just fold Mouse into the MCU, or what's another American Splendor or something.
Sure.
Reboot it into the MCU. Harvey Picar teaser, like fucking Nick Fury has to get Harvey Picar.
You're putting a team together.
All right, I'll go with you, but just wait a second. I've been waiting on this bagel for 10 minutes. Steve, first, a couple of things. One, you mentioned this on our Mortal Kombat live show, and it definitely applies here. You know you're in trouble from the jump.
Yep.
The movie literally begins with a scroll that says "in the beginning."
Yeah, you just can't.
There you go.
God damn,
it's too much.
This scroll is terrible. Celestials, and they created the universe and light, and there's deviants, and they made Eternals got made to like hunt them.
There's this guy named Arishams. He created the sun, by the way. The first one.
It's just too much. Like, I know the scroll's there to try to get us set for this world, but this world is too much shit jammed. It's like, it might as well be all in Latin, this scroll.
It's way too big. It's way too much. And you need to sort of pick your spot. That's the thing is like Gemma Chan, who is the lead of this movie for better or ill, and I believe for ill, she disappears for large swaths, and then we're worried about Kingo and what he's doing in Bollywood, and then we're worried about, is Sprite gonna do whatever? And it's like, well then no, and then I have no purchase on any of this. You know what I mean? I have no, because if it's all about her and Icarus, because that's the whole point, right? At the end, it's the two of them and their love for one another, et cetera, and it just doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Andrew, I think you had a great point on the group chat earlier that like Kit Harington's character is the boyfriend who's just a dude. That's your POV for the audience. We need that guy. Take him through the movie. Make it him. Maybe it's like a One Crazy Night thing. Well, my girlfriend turns out it's internal and she's got crazy friends, and here we go.
That would be something.
Like that's, and the whole sequence in London, where they are kind of just like walking along, and then there's a deviant attack, and then like, it looks like, everything's going tits up, and then Icarus comes in and saves them, and it's like, we haven't seen you in a while. And it's like, when Kit Harington's running around like, what the fuck's going on? What the fuck is that thing? And like he's seeing Cersei like do magic for the first time or whatever. It's like, that is kind of the most engaging part of the movie for me, because I'm watching it through Kit Harington.
Right.
Because I'm also experiencing all this for the first time. And like the vast majority of his screen presence is his picture on her iPhone when he's calling her. And she doesn't pick up the fucking phone.
Yeah. The first action scene is by far the most engaging and most interesting to me, when you have Sprite and all them together. I mean, it's just, everything that the problem with this to me is that whenever there's a moment to engage with, like, they make such huge decisions, like the Hiroshima decision.
Fucking
nuts. Where like, I'm like, you have to really pad out this. You have like 20 minutes to explain yourself here.
Yep.
and you can't, because you have to, Kingo has to make a Bollywood film, don't you know?
And that's the thing, right? Speaking of Kingo, the only other non-Eternal that has so much screen time is the character of Karun, played by Harish Patel, who I think is the best part of this movie. But the filmmakers are totally unconcerned with like having him do anything other than step in. I will say successfully say funny lines.
Yes.
I think the guy is totally great. And he's like a total Bollywood legend, by the way. The guy has been acting for decades in India. And like, it's awesome. But his joke is just like, I'm continuing to film and this is all crazy. But I'm like, give me more time with this guy, because without Kit Harington, this is the guy that I'm trying to experience the story through. And they're unconcerned with that. No, they are. I mean, and that's the thing too, is that, I mean, it's just the set pieces are what they are, but they don't actually, you don't know what, you have a very vague idea what the Eternals are, and then they start fighting these incredibly vague looking dog creatures, and you're like, yep, okay, so then are we gonna take a breath? Oh no, now it's present day, and Gemma Chan's just like working at a museum. Okay, but then what? And then like Sprite's there, and she's changing shape as an adult woman flirting with somebody, and you're like, wait, what? And just it all just sort of happens far too quickly, and not even to the extent of like the parts. I feel like an hour in, when the Eternals break up, or an hour and 20 minutes in when the Eternals break up, that's the first time I had an idea of what they actually meant to one another, which is a bad thing. And also, like, I don't know. It's this sounds like a stupid complaint, but like, you know, aside from like here on We Hate Movies, right, or other entities like ours, I don't believe that you should consider like coworkers like family in that way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like, these people are just coworkers, and if they kind of like, I feel like they need to sort of decide which one it is. Like, are they coworkers? Are they family? And I guess you could argue like that's what the characters themselves are wrestling in the movie itself. But like, I just don't buy it. They all appear to be people that are like kind of more or less unconcerned about what happens to the other. Yeah. Aside from, they can all sort of agree that they're bummed that Ajak was murdered. And that's the thing too. I've said this many times on this show, and I believe everyone has agreed. I'm a sucker for a getting the band back together narrative. Like, that is like something happened in the past, and we've got to come over it. No, man, remember the good times, remember the bad times. But it just is so muddled, and there's so many of them. Is there an hour-long Lynyrd Skynyrd song to get the whole getting the team back together portion of this movie? Because that's what you would need to get that kind of the energy here. Because it is that, but like, again, like if you would split these up into episodes and like tailor them to each fucking character, like that makes more sense. The fact that it's smashed together like this does it. The disconnected feeling everybody's talking about in this fucking episode is that you can't hold on to everything. Everything slips away. Now, and Steve, I have a question about the comic. Sure. Just in thinking along the lines of what Chris was still talking about, like when you're reading like an average Eternals issue, are all 10 of them like up each other's ass every time, or I'm 8 issues in, and I've met like 4 Eternals. You know what I mean? Like, because they slowly meet that out. And yes, you're focusing on 1, 2, 3, or 4 of them at any given time, which is the right number. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, sounds tops. Leave the other 6 for Eternals 2. And yes, exactly. You know that they're there, but they're not part of this story right now. But yeah, it's like X-Men, right? Like we know there's dozens of X-Men characters. Mm-hmm. Yes. But the films, you know, especially the better ones, focus on a limited number of them. And yes, that number is probably more than 10, but there are like 3 that have huge arcs, 3 or 4 maybe, right? Like, think about that 4th movie. It's like Wolverine's story, kind of Rogue's story, and then like the Scott Jean mashup shit, right? But like, there's plenty of other X-Men floating around that are played by lesser celebrities and whatever, you know, that could just kind of like come and go from the story. And think about how that X-Men movie starts, the 2000 one, right? Like, Wolverine thinks he's alone, and he's eventually brought in. I mean, there's that fight with Sabretooth or whatever. Right. But then he sees what a bigger world there is with these mutants, and it's like, I need to see I need a stepping stone scene or scenes to get me into being like, oh, those are the 10 Eternals. Right. Well, I mean, Eric, a movie that I think this is in conversation with this, and she talked about how Snyder influenced Chloé Zhao talked about how Snyder was an influence on her. This does seem very Justice League-y.
like the whole thing. I mean, not just the Superman allusions in Icarus,
Yeah.
which are pretty stunning. But like all of it, it all just seems like that idea to make them gods, like to actually treat them like gods,
right? And then,
but
make
this
it mopey and about like, should they even do this or whatever?
All the things that people like about the Snyder movies, that they try to make those like big characters like that and don't make them chit chat like friends. Like this is literally their nightmare. Like this is the nightmare version they were talking about is this.
Right.
But, and I mean, the thing of it is the passivity too, because literally what the Eternals are doing, what you find out is they're literally like kind of doing that thing of like, so could we go home or we killed all the deviants like 500 years ago. I've been waiting for a call back. Like,
dude, they have been.
I sent him I sent Arisham 3 emails. The last one had an exclamation point. I'm not going to send a fourth. It's up to him now.
It's a bunch of really bored people that have been waiting too long for a ride home.
Yes.
And like, I can't even tell you how unexciting that is.
Jesus Christ, do you have any idea how busy I am? It's not like I have assistants, you little fucking twerps.
I get billions of emails a day. I'm sorry I missed yours.
But to go piggyback off of that, I just don't understand their motivation. They've been around for thousands of years. Who gives a fuck if the world ends?
Yes, and I mean,
well,
don't they want to die at this point? I know Sprite decides to, become a real boy. Pinocchio grants that power to her at the end, and she can age and die.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess
Geppetto.
Oh yes, Geppetto.
Yes.
Pinocchio was the
so
boy.
They come. Here's the thing: they come down, big action scene. We meet all of our Eternals. We haven't talked about, which is amazing how this movie is so all over the place. We haven't talked about literally the biggest movie star to ever do a Marvel movie, which is Angelina Jolie, who's a fucking movie star on the decline.
She might have, sorry to interrupt you, but she might as well not even be here.
No, she might as well not be.
What the fuck? Is she just like, she's staring in a corner.
Because apparently she wanted this to be a cameo, but then like Chloé Zhao kind of like showed her all this stuff, and then she was like, "Oh, I'll do a bigger role in the movie." Sure, I believed in the vision. I bet believed in the vision and wanted to be more in the film, which is fine. But like that, there's not nearly enough or not enough of her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she's just of all of the characters that I want to know more about, it's fucking Angelina Jolie, and then like she has this like bullshit, like I don't know, Alzheimer's problem that I can't understand.
It's amnesia.
No, excuse me. It's literally mad weary. I'm mad weary, yo. That's literally what it is. That's incredible.
I think I have that too.
The idea is because we come to find out the big twist, which is a change from the source material, is that what's this celestial Ackroyd or what's this fucking thing's name? Arisham. Yeah, might as well.
Conehead type of guy.
Dude, if they got Dan Aykroyd to voice, because the voice is nobody, obviously. It's just a voice actor. Good for him getting a check. But
yeah, good.
If they got fucking Dan Aykroyd, come to me, my Eternals. Listen.
Cersei, you are now the leader of the Eternals. And you inherit all the responsibilities we're in.
I'm getting a blowjob that's 40 feet tall.
Celestial blowjobs.
Yeah,
look into it.
Turn it into crystal skull vodka.
The people love nothing but trouble. We're gonna make 7 of them. Druig has nothing to do with it.
What the fuck was I saying about the Celestials now?
Oh, they're
Athena's problem is she starts to remember her past lives.
Oh yes, because Arisham built all of these Eternals as like these, basically these beautiful, sexy android-looking things. They're just robots, really, and she at the end of these same 10 beings are sent to various planets, sit around till the population gets big enough that another celestial can be birthed out of it. Yeah. And then they get sent back to the mothership, mind wiped, and sent back out. Angelina's problem in this movie is that she is remembering all of those past adventures on other planets, and it's like scrambling her noodle.
And it gives her a berserker rage, and she starts cutting people up.
I do not understand the whole population thing. So I guess because of energy, life gives energy, so it feeds the celestial within Earth to be birthed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Just we have to wait for the population to be big enough. It's pretty. You'd think you'd step in at the Holocaust at that point.
No. Don't you? Do you remember they do the whole? They ask the question because of course it's why didn't you protect? Stop. And the answer is humans wouldn't develop the way they were supposed to. I need 15 minutes on what supposed to means.
Thank you. Also, space aliens are invading every fucking day in this narrative of the MCU, and they don't care.
And the most interesting thing is in the early part when Jon Snow has to say, like, are you like Doctor Strange? Like, that's something you would genuinely have to do now. You would have to ask somebody, are you a fucking god being I'm dating now? Can I still, will you let me hit still?
Wouldn't it be interesting if the Eternals they should maybe take out superheroes? Like, what the fuck's the point of those guys?
And I mean, what the fuck is this? Who created these goddamn robots that get mad weary? Oh, you wanted them not to get mad weary. Oh, that's going to cost you much more, Arisham.
This one was set to weary.
So okay, Arisham, I got you down for 10 Eternals here. No problem, easy peasy. One's gonna have mad weary, which you want for some reason. Okay, 9 of them are adults, sexy, beautiful, gorgeous adults. Why on earth? And everybody, you're the space god, and you got the other side of my checks here. But why would you want an 11-year-old girl? Out of curiosity.
Because it's not even a thing where it's like, okay, speaking on like Coneheads, like we're like a family. We got to look like a family, and so you got to be like the little kid, right? Like they're not doing that. So like making it a child is fucking dumb. And I realize it's a boy child in the comic. It's dumb then also.
It's dumb in any sense. And it's like we're doing Kristen Dunst rather, an interview with the vampire.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really pay off because I don't know, it's kind of too creepy for me. I'll be completely honest. I was a little grossed out and the character is annoying. Sorry, folks.
Yes, she is very annoying. It'd be great never to see this actress again. But anyway.
It's amazing that like the moment that the subtext between her and Icarus is weird and would be interesting if you didn't at once just make it part of the dialogue by bringing up the Tinkerbell, which in turn is a Disney IP drop.
I mean, that's not really what it is.
Well, hang on a second.
Look, I refuse to think that they're not thinking about shit like that. You say what you will. Maybe I'm the crazy person here, but like, I refuse to believe they don't think about shit like that.
In the comics, this is something I read in the comics. Okay, so in the 1970s, before the IP machine is what it is now, one of the passing references was that. And this is dumb, but they're eternal. So, Sprite met J.M. Barrie somewhere, and Sprite was the inspiration for Peter Pan. So they have acknowledged this in the comics, Kevin. So
okay,
it's not
but like you don't have to use everything that's in the comics, even if it's only 19 fucking page volumes long.
Yes.
Like you don't have to use that. They used it because it's part of their IP machine.
I strong
totally
disagree here because it's about pedophilia in a strong sense. I don't think like what we want to do is back end this with our selling Tinkerbell in this.
But like if it's weird anyway, then to just break it by just being like, yes, this is literally what we're talking about is. Like, and then to also what I think just make a drop like that. It's to me, it's unbelievable, and it ruins what was at least a little strange part of this movie.
So Kingo should have said, you know that guy you met that wrote that story about you?
Maybe. I would have maybe liked that better.
I mean, I don't know, Kevin. From what we've like complained about so far, this movie would have benefited from taking a closer look at the comic books.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. Like, if they used other stuff other than the Tinkerbell thing, I'd love it.
Start it like Citizen Kane. Give me a newsreel. Show me with famous people. Show me them throughout history or whatever to get me up to speed.
Yeah, well, you can't do that, though, because then it would be fun, and fun equals not serious, and this is supposed to be the serious MCU movie.
The Oscar.
So you can't have, like, Kingo in Hollywood in the 70s, like in a pool with Nicholson or something.
Oh boy, Jesus Christ. Kingo, get out of the country, go to France.
Oh, right. I forgot that happened at his house.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing that I was trying to say 20 minutes ago was that there's a track record. You're talking about why would Arisham make an Eternal that could have this mad weary? Why would Arisham make an Eternal that's a kid? Arisham has a track record of kind of being shitty at this, because his whole thing is like, okay, I sent first these deviants to the planet to take out all of the apex predators so that the human race could thrive and grow. And then, whoops, I built them wrong, and they became self-aware or intelligent or whatever, and they started hunting the humans. So then, oh my God, to fix that office fuck up, I had to invent all these Eternals robots and send them down to kill all the deviants. My God, now I'm way over budget on this project. Like, just hearing this guy talk about how he fucked up at work is kind of hilarious, because you are literally a god being, sir.
What was that Principal Skinner thing? Like that, oh, no, to kill the lizard, we just introduce apes. And then
it's when the eggs hatch or something.
Yeah.
And the little lizards are all over Springfield, and it's like we have to introduce this to get the lizards, and then what happens when those take over? Well, then we introduce the apes to get there, whatever. Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
And then they'll all freeze to death in the winter, so it'll be fine.
I mean, Arisham is just a deadbeat dad. He goes around knocking up all these planets, across the universe, and then like when you're asked like, "Hey, could you help manage the growth of this child, please?" He's like, okay, I'll throw a couple dogs at it. And then, the dogs take over. They start eating some of the little like energy batteries that are powering your baby. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, okay, I guess, how about some robots? We'll send down some robots. That'll make the baby happy, right? That'll keep the baby happy. And it does for a while until you bring the fucking dogs back.
Well, apparently there were some dogs that got forgotten and they were frozen, and then
climate change. Climate change. Yes.
Well, that's the only time. That's the only time this movie remotely has anything to talk about. That is, and it doesn't even talk about it. It's just like, they unfroze. Look at them. Look at them. Look at them now down those deviants. Like we thought we had them all, and we don't, and that's fine. But like, if I also like at the end of this movie where they're like, we are going to, because Kingo, Kumail Nanjiani's character is like, I don't, we can't stop the birth of 1 billion planets. We're talking about billions and trillions of lives by not sacrificing Earth. Somebody in that room has been like, yeah, and by the way, I've been looking out the window. It's got like 60 years left, like tops. Absolutely, total
it
tops.
Actually
60 years.
It feels pretty right on the money to have this thing born now, because the fucking gas is about to leave the tank and we're about to stall out here.
Exactly.
The other thing about all that, though, is like, yes, we have to destroy this planet so that Celestial can be born and go make 20 other planets. I mean, my whole question is like, the fuck for?
Yep.
And I don't know that the movie actually answers it. There's something where Arisham's like, oh, yes, well, all of us Celestials, we throw energy all around the universe like a big ping pong table. And I'm just like, okay, like what? The fuck do I care?
Well, no, Celestials have a pretty interesting tax system. The more children you have, the less you have to pay. So
interesting.
You just start knocking up planets left and right and birthing all these god beings everywhere.
Okay, Arisham, you have 2.5 trillion dependents.
Give me my money.
He must have really hated that blip, because then suddenly, like, the baby, went back to the first trimester.
Oh yeah.
Ajak, played by Salma Hayek, actually says that. She's like, "Oh, that's what happened."
I stole her joke.
After the blip, and I'm sorry, these new Marvel movies still are grappling with how to relay how human beings would survive, which they wouldn't. You know what I mean? No. Like, there couldn't be society after that. But after the blip,
after they all went away, or after they all came back?
Since they went away, and then like Arisham was like, oh shit, and then they came back, and Arisham was like, all right, now's the time, kind of a thing. That's why the emergence is happening now, because everybody's back and the population is just, it's just right.
There's always an alien that wants to kill you out there, folks.
Out of curiosity, did when Thanos snapped his fingers, did like half the Celestials disappear too?
That'd be cool.
I don't know.
What happened to my drinking buddies? Shit.
Well, no, because if his brother is one of these machines.
Yeah.
See, well, I feel like they're gonna have to retcon that, right? Because like clearly Star Fox, who comes here at the end of the movie, played by Harry Styles, which is the only time this movie gets any fucking charisma in it whatsoever. Literally in the fucking first mid-credit sequence, like he's like, "Yeah, I'm Thanos' brother." Like in the comics, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, jump in, but like I was getting the feeling that all things being equal, Eternals are on the same level as like Thanos and all that shit.
Yes,
and now because they're robots,
exactly,
that changes it. So I don't think Harry Styles is technically an Eternal in the sense.
But that's what Pat Oswalt calls him. He calls him Thanos' brother. You're right. It's very confusing because I think in the comics, and I'm not a Marvel guy, but the Eternals, the Celestials, kind of set up shop on all sorts of different planets and put a lot of different Eternals all over the place. And Thanos is sort of an Eternal, as is Star Fox.
It's incredible because that's the moment, like, it's Harry Styles, he's very charismatic, I mean, just in general, but like, they borrow Guardians of the Galaxy sauce for this one scene to give you a kicker out the door. Because, like, my God, if I had Foreigner in this film before this, I would have been so happy.
Yeah.
But like, of course, you have to have feels like the first time at the end of it because it's the beginning of the new phase. Well, I just wanted to kill myself.
There was some pop song in the beginning when we go back to Earth, and the idea, Gemma Chan, Cersei's like kind of
human Time by Pink Floyd.
Yes. Human weakness is that she likes Instagram, which is, there you go. That's something.
They're just like us.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Well, you just imagine like people like she's like posting selfies like she's a fucking Eternal. She never even had kids.
So
you know how she has that body, right?
Isn't it like
she's a robot from space?
I mean, come on.
And it's fucking creepy. She's fucking like a dude who's like, I don't know, what, 30 or under.
Yeah.
It's like total pedophilia, right? I mean, she's like 5,000.
It's disgusting.
I mean, it's fine. He's hot, she's hot, and that's the thing too. And one thing this movie gets a lot of credit for, which I don't think is deserved, is the quote unquote sex scene. So, like,
dude, people who praise that sex scene, tell me you haven't seen a real sex scene without flat out saying you haven't seen a real sex scene.
My God.
These people like, oh yeah. Yep, look at that. Oh my God, the eroticism.
There was more eroticism in the MacGruber sex scenes. Let's be honest with ourselves here.
First of all,
certainly more thrusting.
Absolutely.
As far as superhero movies go, fucking Michael Keaton hit it and quit it with Vicky Vale 30 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what they didn't do beforehand? Get legally married, which of course they had to do in this movie.
Yep.
Because they had to get legally married before they had sex, because only mommies and daddies are allowed to do that. And
that's true.
It's okay, I guess, true. If they have a fun little wedding ceremony and it's their wedding night. That's what we all have to aspire to.
Now she's got a microchip in her belly.
Yeah,
it's a nice day for a robot wedding.
I totally did not notice that the first time, Steve, but last night I was like, oh, this wedding ceremony hits right before that sex scene, doesn't it?
Exactly.
God damn you, Disney. Yeah. God damn you.
Because that would be wrong if it was premarital sex for fucking, like, first of all, Eternals would be going through the human population like nobody's business.
Oh, please.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's why, like, I wanted... Because, like, there was something about parts of this movie, and I don't know what, but I guess it was because it felt so not like a Marvel thing to me. It felt like I was, like, watching an adaptation of, like, a non-Marvel comic. And the only thing that sort of jumped to my mind was the feeling of, like, when I read Preacher. Mm-hmm. And, like, those are some scumbags in that series, right? Those are some fucking scumbags all over that story. And like, I realized last night, I was like, I want there to be scumbags. Like, you need, like this fucking druid guy.
Oh,
dude,
he's a scumbag, dude.
But like, I gotta
village,
see him doing scuzzy shit,
dude. He has a whole village under his command.
Yeah.
He's doing David Koresh shit all the time. Everyone in that village has been fingered and whatever else.
It would be great if they're like landing in the village and all they hear is like it's just all over the place. Everyone is getting fucked at once.
Yeah, it's creepy because he can command everyone to fuck each other. Just
Exactly.
this fucking large bacchanal, this orgy.
He's just walking. He's walking to each tent to like look in and different sex scenes and jerk off himself.
And it's played by notorious boy creep Barry Keoghan. Just one of our favorite boy creeps.
He's great at it.
That's what you get him for.
He's fantastic in the grand tradition of Jesse Eisenberg. He really does do a number here. I think.
Where's he creeped out people the most? It's got to be Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Big time.
That's a big one.
That's the one.
He's very unsettling in The Green Knight. I really like him in that movie.
Yeah, he's excellent.
Oh, right.
It's the,
yeah.
like scavenger guy.
Yep, and yet another boy creep.
He was supposed to be Y the Last Man, which would have been way more interesting if he was the character.
If he was the guy that got canceled.
Yeah.
Did someone get canceled off of that?
Oh, no.
The show
is
totally
quickly canceled.
You say boy creep and cancel, my ears perk up. Some hot goss.
So whatever. We get a flashback. We got some flashbacks, and like I feel like this is how they're like showing you, oh, here's how the Eternals used to fucking do their thing or whatever. Meanwhile, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of just want a movie where the Eternals are doing their thing and not in these like garbage flashbacks that are just informing shit. I want it to be part of the movie, but we go back to 575 BC. We're in Babylon.
Yeah, baby. This is great. The gates of Babylon. I've seen these things in person. It's pretty cool.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they're in Berlin because of Europe,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sticky fingers.
Exactly.
Germans have sticky fingers.
But I thought they did a good job of doing the CGI render of the city walls. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. But like, so they're all like partying because like this is where 575 BC is like they have destroyed all of they're celebrating. They're like, all right, after this job, that's it. We've killed all the deviants or whatever. And this is the first.
Please, I have a family. Sorry, deviant.
What'd you say, wire dog?
Cut that fucking wire dog's head off and fuck it. I want you to fuck it. It's in Babylon, baby.
It's technically the only time we could do this and get away with it.
But was it? Oh, well, this is like the first scene where we see someone getting sort of called up to talk to Arisham. Like this is Salma Hayek as Ajax gets like, she's got this little like gold ball that pops out of her body when she's like getting a phone call from him or whatever.
Boom,
and she
boom, boom.
boom,
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
hold on 1 second. I'm getting something. All right. Yes, Arisham. No, 1 second. 1 second. 1 second.
Dude, let me tell you. I mean, Eric, I think you were right to praise the digital rendering of the village walls and whatever city walls. But like, anytime we're doing this talk to Arisham floating in space thing,
it's garbage.
It's abysmal. It's so bad. It's stunning.
I agree. I think that there's some celestial shots on it, like full body celestial shots are good. The two celestials at the end look good.
Celestial full body. What is this? My search history?
I'm not talking about the way the celestials look. I'm talking the way
when
the
she's
Eternals look
face.
Floating in space. It looks horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you right out of the movie. It looks like you're watching a fucking audition tape.
To give it some credit, I do like the all the eyes and the multiple horn things or whatever is on its head.
Once again, I don't have a problem with the way Arisham looks. I think the Celestials look cool. But when you do reverse shot of them talking to this thing, and you go to the reverse shot of the human actor, and this is, I think there are times in this movie where Chloé Zhao's very like sort of the sort of floating close up, shot that she does kind of works until you realize that you're like just in a Marvel movie, and then you realize the movie from scene to scene kind of looks night and day, but whatever. But But where it does not work is when it's applied here. And it looks so bad. Like you're filming a friend of yours on a bad cell phone in a dark parking lot.
So back in the modern day, we're dealing with there's a dead body at a ranch. I almost thought we were in Mulholland Drive for a minute, and I got very excited. But no, it's Ajax. They found Ajax dead, and then before Gemma Chan goes down on her knees, is like, oh my friend, and then just all of a sudden Richard Mann's like, it must have been Deviants. The Deviant.
Deviant. Yeah, we found Deviant in her jacket.
And I'm like, oh, so he did it. Okay, cool. That's nice to know.
I maybe I wasn't paying quite as much of attention. The Richard Madden turn at the end was not. I didn't see that coming.
Really?
I didn't piss my pants surprised, but I didn't see it coming.
I think I might not have initially saw it coming either, but at that point in the movie, I had turned on the movie to such a degree that I just couldn't possibly give a shit.
That's where that's exactly where I was too, because I was like, all right, whatever, man. Because again, that's kind of an interesting idea, and Icarus, even the Kirby stories, is like the main guy. So to do that, the one person that really cares about the intro is like, oh, come on. But everybody else doesn't care at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, the only thing I did want to mention about the tail end of that Babylon scene is that's where they have their big falling out and the band breaks up.
But I think Druig wants to save humanity. Other people kind of do. We love talking about Makari, whose character has no motivation whatsoever. She's just around.
Yes. But Druig, by the way, wants to violate the Prime Directive.
Yes.
Right.
Which is a big problem.
And this is also around the time that Angelina Jolie's brainworms come into effect, and Gilgamesh is like, "Hey, I'll take care of her." And I'm still. Did anyone? Are they in a romantic relationship or are they not in a romantic relationship? Because it's not really clear to me.
The movie won't tell you.
No, it's not. I mean, but it's
they're not, I know they're not legally married, so they can't have
sex.
That's
why.
Absolutely.
That's exactly why. I'm sorry. You're living with someone for thousands of years in a desert in Australia. Yeah, you're fucking each other. But I mean,
but it's also just reverse Hulk Black Widow.
Oh, it's absolutely that story.
It's just the same thing. I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like,
I do want to point out, now that we are mentioning Gilgamesh, played by Korean actor Don Lee.
Woohoo!
Fucking rules. I have to say,
yes.
I think he is one of the bright spots here. I think he gives a great performance. He is hitting the right kind of tone for what I think they were going for. Is yeah, he has his moments where he's being very serious and where he is doing the action stuff, but he's also managing to bring a kind of subtle humor that's not exactly and so that happened Joss Whedon garbage tone.
Yeah,
that isn't in this movie that much. I mean, there's a little bit of it. There's some
it's Kingo, right?
It's Kingo does that a couple times. Some sprite stuff where it's well, that happened, kind of stuff, but that's about it.
But it does remind me, though, that any time, and the movie would have been so much better if this was absent, but that dinner scene where they go to Australia and find Gilgamesh and Thena living together to let them know, that Salma Hayek's Ajax got murdered. And they're having dinner, and it's Sprite out of nowhere. I mean, this was in the trailer. She's just so who do you think is going to lead the Avengers? And I'm like,
dude,
fuck do you care? The fuck do any of you care? Why the fuck do you even know about these people?
It kind of takes me out of the movie when they do the usual MCU nods to the rest of the MCU, because it kind of doesn't feel like an MCU film, which I guess is why some people like it. But it just it feels like nothing fits in place together.
Nobody really did like this. I mean, it did finally get its money back, but remember, it starting out, at least, it was about as ill-fated as
people love the movie, Chris. Some people love it.
Some people love everything. Some people love that fucking Dana Carvey movie, Master of Disguise. I can't fucking account for them. I can't fucking deal with them.
I mean, I do think that there's only a few MCU references. One, they talk about the blip and Thanos and blah blah blah, and then I think even that's becomes Ajax's motivation later. It's they have a great power to overcome whatever. But there's Kingo at the table, and it makes no sense whatsoever. It's oh yeah, I used to know Thor when he was a baby. Now he won't return my phone calls. I'm you're calling Thor on like what? How? Also, weren't you just a robot that were implanted on Earth and you had no memory before that? Am I nuts? Did I get that wrong?
No, Steve, you know what they're doing right there is they're trying to tell you which of these people are the people you used to like. Gilgamesh is your Hulk.
Yeah.
And then Athena is your Black Widow. And you're reversing their relationship there. He is your Thor, the one who's a little bit more rowdy and fun, and a little and it's just like by the hand telling you it's the same shit. It looks a little better, or like it looks more like an Apple fucking phone commercial.
Well, if you ask Kumail what he was like pulling from for this character, it's like a Bollywood actor who I don't know, and fucking John McClane.
What?
He was like, yeah, Bruce Willis as John McClane in the Die Hard movies, and another Bollywood actor. Those are my influences. So it's like, what?
I did not get that. I did not get those flavors.
Apparently, Errol Flynn as well was mentioned, but you don't see that at all in this, really.
If you mean just flashy, just say flashy.
Yeah.
But I mean, and again, like he flashy all this, and everyone has made this joke, but that he lost all this weight and he got in this incredible shape. The end of the movie, he's like, guys, I will see you all later. And I'm like, wait, what?
Insane. What is going on with that? Honestly, like, I mean, make fun of him all you want, but he has at least a presence and stuff.
Yes,
and
exactly.
And he's not completely super serious, dour, mopey, crybaby shit like the rest of the Eternals.
Absolutely.
I would have been happier if I was at Kingo the movie.
I was just jealous of him leaving because I would like to go too. And I would like to go with Kingo.
Hold on, we're allowed to leave? Oh, cool.
It's the Kingo way to watch the movies. You get up and leave in the third act.
You hear one line about BTS and then you fucking go. Thank you, Kingo.
Brian Tyree Henry I will say, Brian Tyree Henry is really good in this movie, and is probably the most interesting of the Eternals. But he also gets sidled and doesn't, goes all around. I don't know.
I think Brian Tyree Henry is great. I've seen him on television, in movies. I saw him in a play. Like, the dude is awesome. And I feel just like, because I've seen him in so much, like, can confirm he's not letting it fly in this movie.
Yeah.
I think he's good, but I just feel like they're not letting the character like really go. And I'm sorry, like, the end of the movie, he's basically responsible for just like keeping Richard Madden on a fucking leash while the rest of them are going and doing like, come on, man. I don't know.
You're right. I mean, this suffers again from having 10 Eternals. That's way too many Eternals.
And that's the thing too, is like, and another one of the things that this movie gets celebrated for, and I do think that it deserves some of it just because it's an actual out and out gay superhero.
It's there, at least it's there. But
he actually kisses a man. I was totally shocked by that. Good on you for that. In this movie, it's kind of amazing. This movie was getting banned in more conservative countries, and Angelina Jolie and Chloé Zhao were like, "That's bullshit," and Disney was like, "We're not gonna. You know what? Then you don't get the. We're not gonna censor the movie. Here's a censored version of the movie. Hey, I just come around the back. Look, we will not censor that. Kiss is really important to us. Why don't you come by at like 11:30? I got a censored version for you.
Is that right? Did that happen?
According to Wikipedia, that there are edited versions of this in countries that are not cool with it.
That is interesting. But by the way, you could remove his character completely from the film and it would be basically unchanged.
Well, he's the one that actually is the most. He's not in the first. I don't even like. He's in the first scene. He's not in the middle hour, but the last hour he becomes incredibly important.
Excuse me. He invents the fucking plow.
He does. He invents
and
the
it's
plow.
supposed to be a big yuck. And it is not a big yuck. It's a pain in the ass.
Gone for most. Now the movie, folks at home, 4.5 hours. And he's in it for like it feels like 30 minutes. He's in the film.
Yes. No. It's not. Yeah, because he disappears. He wants to do science stuff, and they do have that really awkward Hiroshima scene, which we can just talk about right now.
Sure. Because they talk about like, oh, you're trying to get Fastos. That's his name?
Fastos, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. You want Fastos to come back, huh? I don't know about that. Probably going to be pretty hard. Fastos gave up on the human race. Sort of like first quarter of the 20th century, if you know what I mean. And then it's like, boom, cut to aftermath of Hiroshima in 1945. And I was like, and I was not prepared. I'll tell you right now. I heard about this.
Yeah.
I heard about it before I went to the movies to see it. And even still, I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Because and he's weeping on the floor, and Ajak, Salma Hayek is like consoling him, and it's like, oh, it's so sad that this had to happen. I'm like, did it have to happen, Eternals? Did it?
But
and also, like, I mean,
what?
all the stuff leading up. When you read the news the last 6 to 10 months and or a couple of years, like what was going on in Germany, like those concentration camps, which we're not going to talk about, that I guess everybody's just chill with.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the Hiroshima thing, it's just like one step too far. The whole, everything else, it's like, oh boy, that's a bag of worms. A lot of trouble there in Europe. And then when this happens, it's like, damn it, the baby's set back again. That poor Celestial.
Well, isn't the murder of 6 million people also a fucking setback for their stupid baby planet plan or whatever?
Don't ask me what the Eternals fucking care about. It seems like they're pretty selective of their tragedies.
Wait, yeah, it should tell you something that in the moment after this, as he's going through the aftermath, he's not trying to save the people he might be able to. He's crying in the middle of it, just weeping over what has happened.
It's the really sad version of So That Happened. It's just like, so that happened, and there's literally nothing I can do about it. I'm sure there's definitely not people on like the outer rim of this blast fucking burned and needing assistance and having their teeth fall out of their fucking head immediately.
And just all the Eternals like, oh, that is just too much. That's ridiculous. That's goddamn ridiculous. I'm pissed about that.
But at the same time, my suit's getting powered up in my body because of the radiation. All right.
Yeah. Arishams sends an email back, re-Holocaust, don't get involved. Well, that's it. I sent an email. It was a really long email and a bulleted list. Daddy said no, so I guess the Holocaust continues.
Druig is just going around the perimeter with a gurney by himself, being like, you guys want to help me? Anybody? I know I'm not supposed to help these, but come on, guys, really?
Hitler was me alone. He was such a good public speaker that the Eternals were like under his sway.
Also, I just don't get like why some levels of intervention are okay and others aren't, right? If the whole thing is like you just need to let humanity like do whatever so they can become the best whatever, it would stand to reason that you would interfere with Robert Oppenheimer and the atomic bomb wouldn't be made, right?
Yep.
And then it's like, and a steam engine is what Fastos wants to give the Babylonians, or maybe it's the Mesopotamians, I don't remember, a steam engine. And they're like, no, these motherfuckers can't handle a steam engine. And that's when he's like, well, here's a plow. And I was like, well, so now you're just kind of doing an Ancient Aliens thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, but that's interfering with their whole stance is fucking bullshit.
It's
man.
Absolute bullshit.
Well, but here's the thing: is if they had interfered in all these grand tragedies and horrors of history, the people of Earth might not be so ready to be killed off. Because now, as of now, dealing with all that stuff, we're all ready for the grave.
Oh, absolutely.
Just dealing with the last 5 years has made us ready for the grave. But beyond that, we have a full memory of every terrible thing that's ever happened now, and we want to die, and therefore the baby can be birthed. The fucking celestial baby can be birthed, and no problem whatsoever.
Take me now, celestial baby.
Please, no, let the celestial baby come out. Let Tiamat or whatever the fuck his name is.
It would be great if at the end of this movie, not the end, the middle of this movie, one of the middles of this movie is when they go and they have to get their ship, and it's in Iraq, and they're like, oh, let's go find our big old ship. Oh no, it's all those dead children on top of it. We should have got involved in this war in Iraq a couple of. Get them off of there! Get them off of there! Oh, it's really biting that ass. We gotta go to the fucking car wash.
I just realized a thing, by the way, Kevin. You were just talking about like the last 5 years and how like the state of this planet has us ready for the grave, which I'm not going to fight you with, but it just made me think about this movie's like kind of cowardly thing about global warming. Because like, yeah, that's kind of what we're doing, but the movie, it has a real opportunity to address that, and it doesn't. Like they don't put the nail on the head when Richard Madden is talking about those deviants that came out of the ice. He could have said global warming got so bad that this ice shift happened and they came out. what he says is like that fucking dumb. We didn't talk about it, but early on in the movie when we get to London and are introduced to present day Gemma Chan, there's this. We're told a worldwide earthquake, and so Madden. First of all, and then you got nobody on the planet talking about this earthquake. Which you're talking about a global earthquake. I feel like that would be a topic of discussion you could have a scene about with like human beings someplace, but we're unconcerned with human beings.
Maybe Blade's going to talk about it. I bet he will. I'll bet he has a lot to say about this earthquake.
God, I really hope not.
I want John Madden to talk about it.
Sure. Get him back from the
earthquake
grave.
is coming in. It's coming in everywhere.
See, the problem was you had to get out there ahead of the global warming, and now what happened was you got this earthquake coming in from the backside. QB doesn't even see him, and bam!
Check out this
global size earthquake.
And you got Kingo coming in with his finger guns going bum 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 bum.
And the deteriorating defense up here. You see the ozone completely gone, absent-minded.
I wish fucking John Madden was a goddamn Eternal, man.
Me too. That's
Me too,
an imposing figure.
Yeah, some kind of authority.
He'd never be able to get to that island to help out though, Steve, because you can't take a bus to an island.
That's a very good point.
Famous non-flyer he was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's him and Lars von Trier. Interesting.
Both twisted motherfuckers.
But so yeah, like now we're looking around. We're getting the band back together. We meet up with Kingo, and we have this very large Bollywood sequence, which is fine, but not really
it's
for
not.
this movie. It's not. It's
No.
not. I know. I'm really trying to be nice. It's not.
It's how in the ever-loving fuck do you make a beautiful Bollywood dance number boring?
Yeah. Yep.
Somehow this movie figured out. I feel like everybody was, how like sometimes when you hear things about like Bruce Lee and other martial artists who have had their skills like put to film, the filmmakers would be like, hey, can you, I think this is specifically with Bruce Lee, was like, can you slow down what you're doing, like so we can catch it on camera? I feel like that's what they're doing here. Like, can you kind of slow this down and do this at like half or quarter speed? Like, it's just this, it's way too lazy's wrong because they're not being lazy, but it doesn't have that sharpness that Bollywood numbers often come with.
Hey, could you take the jubilation down by like 20%?
That's exactly
what
there it is.
We want about 20% less jubilation in a Bollywood film, you morons.
And Kumail is not the guy for this, and again, I really like the guy. I think he's fucking hilarious, and I think he's good in stuff, but. And you read all these stories. This is the scene he was the most uncomfortable by because he's not a song and dance guy. And I'm sorry, it shows. Like that's a skill that people have and some people don't. And I certainly don't have that.
Kumail in this number in this movie is my dad dancing at a wedding.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing is like you can't really compare Bollywood with the MCU because it's just so even American blockbusters because they're so sterile at this point. And the jubilation, you're right, because there's not a real genuine emotion left in the MCU.
I mean, if this movie had the Stones, the end of this movie should have been a huge Bollywood dance number. Like you know what I mean? Like really, like you do that. I mean, again, like. Because that's the problem too. And again, and you want to be my latex salesman. This movie does not have an ending. It's I'll see you next time. And that doesn't happen in Oscar-winning film. Well, sorry. You don't do a sequel setup for an Oscar-winning film.
Just save it for when Dev Patel plays Mr. Sinister.
Oh, dude, I'm half hard.
Also, that not bad, honestly.
Is that being floated around or
no,
what?
No, that's just the thought because of the hair, the facial hair from Green Knight made me think of it.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
But isn't this also like violations of their prime directive and interfering in human society in some degree? The fact that he's a movie star it's multiple generations. He played his grandfather and father and shit.
Yep.
I kind of was entertained by that.
It's a funny joke, don't get me wrong, but it's still like you are interfering with human society to some degree. Suddenly some other guy that could have been a Bollywood star is now not.
Sidling up to J.M. Barrie too, you know what I mean? Telling him some stories. Because that's the thing too, is I mean, it's you're right though. Like it's not just like saving lives and killing lives. It's like affecting the earth. You know what I mean? Like, and that happens when you walk down the street.
Exactly. Ever hear about the butterfly effect? Come on, folks.
It would be funny though if like Kingo had to keep on like doing public funerals every like for every iteration of him. He had to be like, okay, it's about time. Do the makeup, put on the hair, Let's get me in a glass case and then put me in the ground.
I think that's right. It's like he announces like he's going to retire from acting, right? So like he's been doing it for several years. He's having Karun put like some white highlights in his hair, make him look kind of a little salt and peppery, and then he's like, all right, now I'm retiring from acting. And then he waits a little while, introduces himself again as the next relative, kills off the other one, has a Lenin-esque funeral. Absolutely.
Does nothing for the dozen or so natural disasters that ruined his country.
Nope, not at all. But they say even he and Sprite used to be a team, and they were hanging out all the time. But then he's like, yeah, man, it was just kind of hard because everyone's like, why isn't that little girl getting older? So I had to ditch you.
Yeah,
do you think
totally.
He was like, oh, hey, Sprite, could you do me a favor? Could you go to the convenience store and just grab me a Coke real quick? It's like, yeah, no problem. Kingo!
Oh, no. Kingo, I got your soda.
Oh, he said he was going to put me in Annie.
Yeah, so they're like, hey, Kingo, bummer news, man. Ajak was murdered. The Deviants are back. We got to go. And so now we get on Kingo's private jet that he has. And this is a thing I don't care for. I like the Karun character. I think it's a great performance. I think he's got a lot of funny lines. I don't like this whole, like, I'm making a documentary as, like, a fake way to get more exposition out. Like, do better than this. All this, like, shaky cam, shitty video stuff that I'm looking at. Come on.
Well, this adds the only moments of levity in the film as well when various other Eternals destroy those cameras. And I'm not saying that's actual levity because it sucks. I mean, I agree with you, Andrew. I think he's one of the best characters, and this is another way you could have someone be introduced to the Eternals and take us through it for a POV for the audience. But some of these gags, man,
it is just unbelievably funny for Sprite to call Kingo a fake friend in the middle of this disastrous thing that's happening. Like, I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I don't care. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what happened in Macedonia? I don't give a shit.
That's all they care about because they're fucking, clipping their toenails during the Holocaust, dude. Like, they don't give a shit.
Yeah,
nobody cares. It's all about interpersonal relationships.
Yeah, they're just home listening to My Chemical Romance and sulking about it.
It's like turning on Days of Our Lives on, episode 10,000, and you're like, oh, so the eye patch guy was with her, and then with him, and then this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just them rehashing that shit. And I couldn't give a fuck about any of the Eternals. I'm sorry.
So they do from Mumbai, they go to Australia, which we already talked about, except for the thing that happens here is Gemma Chan, she has already gotten out of the corpse of Salma Hayek the little gold floating ball that Ajak uses to communicate with Aykroyd there.
And ends the Quidditch match as well. She ends it immediately when she grabs it.
She's trying to figure out like how she can like use it to call to like go talk to Arisham or whatever, and they're like, well, just go, we're gonna stay in here and just keep chatting about our favorite friends, the Avengers. You go sit out on the lawn under that tree, and I don't know, maybe you'll communicate with him. And it happens
immediately,
and she goes up, and this is where we get all the information about the emergence. And he's like, sorry to let you know this way, but I figured an in-person meeting would have been better than an email. Here's the truth about your existence, sexy robot lady.
You're a sexy robot lady.
Well, that's it. Back to Australia with you.
All right, listen. So, yes, we're going to tear the earth open like a fucking broken condom. It's going to be destroyed. But make sure all of you Eternals have your travel vouchers for your next assignment. It's very important. I don't want you guys not expensing this properly. It's a huge hassle for me when you don't do that.
Also, in the interim, I'm going to need you guys to work on my taxes. This new baby's got to count for this quarter. I can't tell you how important this is.
Then the other thing we should mention is, so they're like, before this encounter, the Eternals are all like, well, whenever Arisham comes back to pick us up, we're going back to our home planet of Olympia.
Yes.
And then this is where he's like, by the way, that home planet totally doesn't exist, and I built you in something I'm deciding to call the World Forge.
Oh, come on.
Uh-huh.
What? I mean, just whatever. And you have these, like, Gemma Chan is standing in what is like a simulation of the room where these things were all built, and she's standing next to a not yet finished version of herself. And let me tell you, once again, ladies and gentlemen, I don't like, something's got to be going on with the special effects budgets. I think someone is siphoning money off the top, and this is all that they have left, because like Gemma Chan's standing in this room where there's supposed to be like rows of these unfinished robots. Again, I sound like a broken record, but that also looks absolutely dreadful.
It does. And I mean, all we're doing right now is just ripping the Matrix in a big bad way. It's a middle of the movie twist. It's about the Celestials using human beings as batteries, essentially, and et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, your reality isn't what you thought it was, et cetera. You're a robot. And I mean, like, it's just, and it doesn't hit because I don't care about anybody. I do not care about any person. And Angelina Jolie is, I keep like having to like push past people to look at Angelina Jolie in an Angelina Jolie movie. It's very bizarre. It's really weird that she's in this movie. I'm sorry. I find it really strange.
I mean, I think the whole thing screams of not knowing where to put the camera, like having too much to put it, because like, yeah, I actually think her fighting style is pretty interesting. I think during the action scenes, her fights are the most interesting, the way she wields her sword stuff. But like, yeah, there's this unbelievably interesting little moment when Gilgamesh finds out that Ajax was killed, where he literally tears a cast iron pan in half.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just this minor detail in the background. You could have made that like a shot, you know, and maybe have an emotional moment with this character. But you got to keep moving. You have to keep going. Another scene coming.
I mean, again, because we only have 3 hours to get an entire mythology out. You know what I mean? Which is not actually that much time for 10 mother effing characters.
And that's the thing with, like, you know, I don't know if it was Feige directly, but somebody was like, yeah, we're not doing the whole thing like we did with the Avengers, where they're all going to get their little movies and then they're going to come together as one big group. We're just doing the big group.
What we're going to do is almost exactly what Justice League did. Oh, wait, I'm not supposed to say that. I'm sorry. Pretty Sunsets. Yeah.
I mean, that's fine, because no one's going to see a fucking Kingo movie or a Gilgamesh film.
I just said I would rather see a Kingo movie than this movie, but you do a prequel. Well, you do a thing where you maybe that's the TV show, right? You go through all each Eternal gets a few episodes, and then you do this movie when people are excited because they know what the fuck this is.
Or you do a thing where it's like the Eternals movie was just a few of them.
Well, that's the movie.
The arc is a bringing the band back together thing. And honestly, what you needed, at least if you were doing it that way and you have this first movie, one of them, their Avengers, is fucking doing something. Maybe it's like a small role, but like it's there to sort of ease that transition. And there's just maybe like, I don't know, 4 of these fuckers you have to worry about. And then Eternals 2 is, we gotta go get fucking Fastos and whoever else. Like, yeah, they tried to just do the thing that didn't work for another company, and they thought they could do it better, and they did not.
Please put Chris Pratt in this. The shit he's been doing otherwise has been horrendous, and I include his life in that.
Yeah, dude sucks.
I'll disagree. I'm happy that there's no MCU or is in this to keep it, well, at least feeling sorry. And that's one of the things I will give this movie some credit for.
There's 0 people in this with screen presence.
Sure. I mean, no, I agree.
Maybe Kingo comes closest. That's where we're at.
But I mean, I like Barry. Like not screen present necessarily. It's the characters. It's the characters. The script. You've got Angelina Jolie, Barry Keoghan, Brian Tyree Henry. These are people that could be in a movie that would light it on fire, but they aren't allowed to because they have to talk about the World Forge and Unimind, and I don't even know what else is happening.
Oh man, Unimind! I just can't. I just cannot. I don't want to leave Lauren Ridloff off this. She's the actress who plays Makari. I think she's great. I saw her in a play actually a while back. She's a really great actor, and like,
but what does she do in this?
Nothing.
She's just jumping around, fucking collecting things like a little stinker. And, again, they sort of intimate, that she's had some sort of past relationship with Druig there, or it's not super direct. It's also not super hidden. It's kind of like right in the middle. Could use more of that.
I will say they have more heat and chemistry than Madden and Chen by miles. I say I felt the heat between them.
Dude, like the end of the movie when Barry Keoghan like she realizes that Barry Keoghan is still alive, and like they come together and they sort of like connect foreheads, like they just sort of put their heads together. Like that is a more striking moment than like the entirety of Cersei and fucking Icarus.
Yep.
I mean, well, they weren't allowed to kiss because they didn't get legally married. So
that's right. So they're all like kind of not really thrilled about the news, and they're like, well, we need to figure out a way to stop this thing. What if we, put it to sleep? Well, who could do that? Our good buddy Druig could do that. So it's back. We're back west, going to Central America to find Druig, and he's living in a very small village in the jungle, weirdly controlling people, hopefully with like some gross sex stuff going on, but not in this movie.
It's happening on the sidelines,
Oh, absolutely.
The sidelines.
Like right off screen, folks, there's some nasty shit happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Deviant attack, guys.
Oh, man, Deviant attack indeed.
It's so exciting, dude. When Deviants show up and they look like I don't even know what, and they just kind of flutter around and,
one of the biggest laugh lines for me is in this movie, in this moment right here in the movie where it's Cersei and Icarus just having another boring moment together, like in the jungle. And Icarus is like, Cersei, there's something I want to, and then he gets yanked away by this flying deviant. Dude, it is unintentionally hysterical.
It is very funny. And I was like, holy shit, something's happening in this movie. Finally, it's been on for 3 hours. Here we go. And then he just comes back. He's just like, I'm fine.
I gotta say, I like the laser beam eyes. Those are fun to look at. I thought that was pretty cool.
What's that X-Men that does that?
Cyclops.
I couldn't stop thinking about Cyclops.
Why can't this isn't the space pirate that birthed Cyclops, right?
No, it's not Corsair, Cyclops' father. Okay,
please.
Nice. And look, by the way, I love that this motherfucker could be like Corsair.
Yeah,
Cyclops' father. And earlier in this episode, proclaimed to not be a Marvel guy.
Not that much of a Marvel guy.
Sure.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sure. You don't know any of them Cyclops second cousins, but that fucking Gleep Clop father name you got down.
But
this whole sequence is, I think, a pretty good action sequence.
It is, but I mean, the deviants wind up being nothing. They're noise.
Nothing.
They are actually because I mean, like, it'd be one thing if because again, look, there's this thing about like how Peter Sarsgaard's character absorbed Ajax's power.
Skarsgård.
Bill Skarsgård. Yeah. I get those mixed up. All those scars. He absorbed her power, and now he could start almost talk and like, oh man, it's the beginning, a new beginning for the deviants. And he gets cut into confetti. He disappears. There's another scene where he does this whole thing. He kills Gilgamesh, absorbs his power, and he disappears from the movie. And I don't even know what he's doing there at the end. I really do not.
It's insane. He kills a great character, which I'm sorry, like Sprite was right there. Gilgamesh fucking eats shit, saving Thena. She has one of her fucking episodes and just like stands frozen watching this dude get murdered, which like she never kind of comes to grips with by the end of the movie. But
Andrew, she's mad wary, as are we all.
Indeed. But he stands up after taking Gilgamesh's powers and he just goes, "You are not saviors, Eternals. You are murderers. Bye-bye, movie."
You know what? I don't know. Get away to make that guy talk at the start,
Yes.
Figure a way to do that so that I know that there's, I don't know, some kind of motivation, some kind of presence behind these Gleep Clop dogs.
Look, the point of the deviants in this movie is obviously the red herring, because the real evil is the Eternals themselves, and Icarus, etc., and that's fine. But the way to do that is then not have Bill Skarsgård at all, just have them be dog monsters, which I wouldn't like either. But at least then, like, they're just a bunch of noise and they disappear throughout the middle of the movie, and you're like, oh yeah, they were the big thing. When Bill Skarsgård comes back to fight her, I'm like, who are you and why are you fighting her? What happened?
Yeah, and I don't even believe they say the character name, do they? Does Angelina say it?
Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Crow, Kro, is that?
Yes.
Is that the name?
Yeah, that's the name, because he's a huge character in the comic, and that's cool, but not in this version.
But no, they're all deviants. It's all wire dog, wire bird, wire cat, wire fox, and like that's it. Like it would be insane if she said that name at the end of this movie. I'd be like, from where did you get that name? Or was this the flying one? Then maybe I'd get Crow.
And you, I think, could have it both ways, because I think it's either Chris or Steve. I think you already said, like, we couldn't have all these deviants running around as humanoid talking creatures because you couldn't keep track, because we also have 10 Eternals. I agree with that. However, maybe you restructure it so it's like 2 or 3 deviants, and then they're fucking, the things doing their bidding are these dog and wire cheetahs and wired pterodactyls and whatever the fuck.
All sorts of wire hippos, all kinds of stuff, man.
Ooh, dude, if one of those things was shaped like a hippo, honestly, pretty cool.
By the way, the villains are the good guys thing. Didn't we just do this with Captain Marvel?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
And Ben Mendelsohn was so much more character than this does.
And Gemma Chan was in that movie as well. So.
Oh, was she?
I think she was one of the Kree.
She was, yes.
Okay. Yeah, she eats shit at the end of the movie, though. So.
That's too bad.
Yeah, R.I.P.D. that character I'll never remember.
So, like, whatever, this is the end of that attack, and it's like, oh, shit. I think at this point, Richard Madden has a flashback, and we find out that he was the big baddie all along, where he's just like, oh, you figured it out there, that Jack. Why don't you come over to Alaska with me real quick? I got something to show you. No, the good cuts are in the back, Jack. Just keep going down. Keep walking down that way, Jack.
Dude, and we are told that, like, for whatever reason, Ajak, has more memories. They say something about, like, oh, Ajax, like, been around for millions of years or something like that. And it's like, lady, you can't see this coming. You know what I mean? And like, unless it's a thing where it's like, I knew it all along, Icarus, like, strike me down, the rest of the Eternals will rise up more powerful than you could imagine. Like, something like that, right? If she has like an Obi-Wan kind of death,
sure.
Maybe, but it's like, you could not see this fucking freight train when you're sitting on the tracks, lady? Come on.
Maybe it's like The Irishman or something with Jimmy Hoffa being such good friends.
There's no way my best friend would murder me.
No, that's another internal. Of course, it'd be fine. Oh shit, I'm being shot. I thought we were getting ice cream.
No.
But yeah, they have this, like, we already talked about it, but they go to Brian Tyree Henry in Chicago. They're like, hey, you got to do this. He's like, cool, fine. Then they go back to the Mideast, because that's where the ship has been left. So they go on the ship. The Domo is the name of the ship, which I thought was kind of cool. And yeah, this is where they're kind of like fighting about what to do. The Unimind plan is sort of, they're like, yeah, all right, that sounds good, Phastos. Why don't you build that so Druid can, like, put this fucking, thing to sleep. And then this is where Icarus is like, walking out, and he says to Kingo, like, goes after him, and he's like, I'll follow you anywhere, Icarus. And he's like, don't say that to me. You're not who I think I am. And then, this is this flashback 6 days ago, it says. And I was like, that's unbelievable, because I feel like I've been watching this movie for at least 3 weeks.
Also, you just had me fucking zip-zapping around centuries, buddy.
Yeah,
do you really fucking 6 days? The fuck do I care?
Dude, give me the courtesy of a week ago.
Yeah, please, man.
And, this is the big thing where it's like, he starts fucking with him, right? He's like, I can't allow you to do it. You're not allowed.
It's against the rules.
Well,
that is it. It's against the rules. That's mostly his reasoning.
To be fair, though, like, in his mind, like, it's like all week you told me we were going to go to McDonald's, right? You're like, Steve, you want to go to McDonald's on Friday? I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good time. And like, I've got my meal picked out. I know what I'm going to do. And then the last minute, you're just like, now I got to go to Nathan's instead. I'm like, well, I really wanted to go to McDonald's. So like, what the fuck? I mean, I've been thinking about this all week. And then by that, I mean, a millennia, I've been waiting to go to McDonald's, or we're all going to go together. And now you're changing the plan?
I agree. I think Icarus is the good guy.
I mean, evil Superman has also been done. I'm sorry, it's just in the culture, but like The Boys has already done evil Superman much better.
Yes, better than any of these dour properties could.
Yeah, this is just like absolute. Like, I understand it's a different tone and everything, but like literally, there's no energy to this performance in Richard Madden.
Yes,
he's literally just jawing
dead
at you.
fish shit.
He's got nothing to do. Not nothing to do. He's got plenty to do. He just doesn't do it. And it's a thing where that's when the movie really starts to fray, because this is the biggest turn of the movie. Like, this is, you really have to be like, oh shit.
But
and like,
honest question,
a twist.
Honest question. Do you think that they were directed to take their performances down because they're robots?
It's a good question. Probably, I don't think so.
I think they were directed to take their performances down so they could make a quote unquote serious superhero drama movie.
Right. Yeah.
I think
Pretend
that's what
you're
this
Superman delivering Amazon packages.
That would be fantastic.
But and that's what sucks is like this confrontation scene could be pretty cool, right? Because he's like, you won't succeed against me, and I'll kill every one of you if I have to. Yes. And I'm like, pretty badass. And then this is like Sprite decides to go with him, and you're like, okay, we got some defection here. But then it's just totally killed by Kingo going, we're no match, guys. It's Icarus. And he leaves, and I'm like, well, wait
I
a
get the
second.
vibe that he it's like, well, we're supposed to be here for the birth of the new thing. Like, who, right? Like,
yeah.
That's
right, but here's the thing.
That's why we exist.
I'm not going to vote for Trump. I'm just going to not vote.
Exactly. Exactly.
I totally get, Kingo, not wanting to be a part of it and staying true to the plan and, whatever. But like, to make me on board with all of the surviving Eternals by the end of this movie, it needs to be a thing where it's like, is this the end for one of the Eternals? And then blam, there's Kingo on the beach. And it's fucking stunning that doesn't happen just from like purely a story structure thing. And then at the end of the movie, he's in one of the little epilogue scenes where like he's taken Sprite under his wing to like go to school, and I guess they're gonna go back to India or whatever the fuck. And and Cersei isn't like, hey man, that was a real shithead thing you did.
Exactly.
Back on that beach.
Or like, oh hey, are you enjoying fucking living in Earth? Yeah, of course. You're fucking welcome, asshole. Like,
yeah.
Well, we would have included him, of course, but the actor was unavailable as he was at the gym.
Yes. Important.
He fights, and like this is the thing too, is like Angelina Jolie is like, I've always wanted to fight. He's like, let's get it on then. And it just sort of does, you know what I mean? Like, again, like this should be at the end of the movie where like, holy shit, it's Superman and Batman fighting each other, or I don't know, it's Iron Man and Captain America fighting each other, and it's got no weight to it because Angelina Jolie is on Ambien and out of this movie for most of the film, and Richard Madden is, I apologize, Richard Madden.
Mm-hmm.
And now, what scene are you talking about, Steve?
When they fight on the ship, she fights him in the ship for like four and a half seconds.
Right. Well, that's what's confusing because the first part of that, like when the whole argument is going down, she's literally in the other room. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why isn't she here for this part of the scene? How big is the ship that you don't hear the commotion?
Cersei, you're taking a crap. You missed it. I'm evil now. Want to go for it?
I'm in the cafeteria. The cafeteria. No, you take a right out of the... You never mind. I'll find you.
And like they fight for a second. And Sprite does join because she is actually in love with Icarus. And I do kind of want Icarus to be like, I appreciate your support. Oh, you're one of my best. It's never gonna happen, though. I really gotta be clear about that. It's never gonna happen.
I know we've been hanging out for 7,000 years, but listen, you still look like a baby, and it's fucking weird.
It's creeping me out.
It would be. Oh man, I want my baby. It just starts doing it. That would make me very happy.
There was a like, Richard Madden for Bond, and I'm like, Richard Madden did not be in anything I want to watch. How about that?
Dude, the only way you're gonna cast Richard Madden as Bond is if you promise me at the end of his one and only movie he's fucking murdered like Daniel Craig.
I bet it's gonna happen just because obviously we live in the worst timeline. Everything's been terrible these last 5 years. We're saying, God, baby, kill us. I think it's going to happen just because we live in the worst world. I mean, I guess was Tom Holland, would that be worse than Richard Madden?
Tom Holland would be worse, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
I actually think the only time I've ever liked him even as an actor was that Elton John movie for like a hot minute.
Oh yeah, he's good in that.
He's kind of a scumbag. Like I think that's probably what he needs to be. Like this role, it just doesn't work for him, and it's like, it's just that. Yeah.
I mean, I would be curious what a Richard Madden, not Bond, but like a Richard Madden superhero performance was like if he was allowed to act like he wanted to be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this whole performance is like a hungover substitute teacher that's pissed off he got called in for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Accurate.
And it's just, I don't want to be here. And it, to me at least, it comes off on screen that way. So he destroys, Faustus is working on the fucking Unimind. He destroys it. It's kind of like basically the equivalent of like when your sibling is playing with a bunch of Legos and you go in and break them and they go, hey!
Yeah.
That's kind of what's going on. So then like he flies away, whatever. And immediately, I mean, thank God he came up with this idea so fast. Faustus is like, oh, well, actually, Cersei, if I took that weird Quidditch thing out of your chest, maybe I could do something to refit that to make it to be the Unimind. And I'm like, whatever the fuck ever.
Mm-hmm.
File it under information that would be useful yesterday.
And they're just fighting on the beach here, and Athena kills Crow in a scene that, I mean, again, like this character has had no development whatsoever, and
it's incredible.
And also, like, I'm sorry, Marvel, you need he looks like shit. B, I cannot hear this thing. Maybe lower it to 2 to 3 voice modulations as opposed to 7. Because like,
pull up to the second window.
I'm so exhausted by the voice modulation.
Yep.
Like, you know what? In that Masters of the Universe movie, I'm pretty sure Frank Langella is not voice modified.
Yes.
And that's, kind of saying something. And it like you realize though the lengths to which they're doing voice modification in this movie, because newsflash, Patton Oswalt does not sound like Patton Oswalt in this voice role. It is modulated to shit, and it's very weird because it's got like a faint reminiscent of Patton Oswalt's voice.
It keeps on going in and out.
It
It's
does.
so distracting. I was like losing my mind in that little scene because it's like, is that Patton Oswalt, or did they just like edit out parts of it that didn't sound funny or something?
Not only
Trust
that,
actors to act, please.
Yes. Not only that, it's the worst looking CGI I've ever seen for
it's
the
bad.
big boy.
Yeah.
Really bad. But also, yeah, by the way, newsflash, Disney, Patton Oswalt was in one of your fucking movies doing a great voice performance.
But even in
the Mouse movie.
Oh yes, yeah, the Ratatouille.
Oh, yes, of course.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
That's in the MCU.
Phenomenal. I would love it if Remy was in the MCU. That would be really a step up for the whole series. I think
They'd have fun with him, right? Like him and Groot or something.
he's the personal chef to the Avengers. Come on,
That'd
this
be
works.
cute.
Come on.
But even the, what do you call it there? The voice modulation is so bad. Don Lee, his voice is in that scene too, and you can't tell the difference because it's just like, rah, 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 or would you like it if I talked like Gilgamesh, which I'm now talking like? Wait, look at me.
Whoa.
I'm President Barack Obama now.
Wow.
Oh.
Sounds strong.
Yeah, it's all going to end up sounding like the Thing monster at the end of the Thing.
It would be rad though if actually, yeah, you were right. Like you were doing all them impressions, Steve. If it was like a deviant that was like the deviant's equivalent to like Rich Little, and he's just like doing all these impressions and shit. That would be kind of something.
Sure.
Well, he's diced into confetti, so he doesn't get the chance to get, his. He can't get his George H.W. Bush impression down.
And the thing that's a bitch about it is like she fucks this dude up with these swords. It's like he's like squeezing her and he's got all his fucking tentacles out trying to steal her powers. She like she gives herself a reach around and pulls out these two blades and cuts this thing up. And you watch it kind of fall to pieces. And I was like, man, can you imagine how this scene would play if the thing that was falling to pieces at the hands of Angelina Jolie was an established fucking villain character that you like recognize from somewhere or something?
Also, wouldn't it be great if you could see this thing?
Oh,
this
no.
fucking lighting. I never, like, I didn't feel it with Solo. I didn't feel it with anything else. But this one specifically, there are so many scenes where I cannot tell what the fuck is going on because it's so dark.
Chris, can I ask you why you mentioned Solo right there? Is there a lot of night stuff in that?
No.
I only saw it one time.
There
I really
is
don't remember
the start towards the battles. A lot of where Han is deployed and he finds Chewie there. People complained about the color issue there, but let me tell you some little tip: close those blinds. You know,
I understand that.
No, but it's like other people that were complaining about that, I think to Eric's point, is like, I was trying to watch this movie on my fucking phone while I was on the bus and I couldn't see shit.
Sure.
So that's that, and now the Eternals are fighting each other. We already said Brian Tyree Henry, and his power is technology, which would make sense if he was like a big, like kind of Cable, the comic book character guy, where he's got big crazy machines that he's built in advance, but he just sort of builds stuff from like sand and stuff, and I'm like, how does that work?
We can't get into the magic of how stuff works.
I know, but still, and he makes
big dumb line here. Big dumb.
Oh,
line.
I know.
Sorry.
Here it comes. Please tell me. I know.
Maybe not. I don't know. I'm kind of jumping around the scene, but there's a part where like Druig is like trying to go up against Icarus, and Icarus just uses his laser eyes to like push him 6 feet down in the sand, and then turns around and just goes, Druig's gone. It's over. I was like, the fuck are you talking about? There's 8 more people trying to kill you.
Oh, no, the one I had, which is when Brian Tyree Henry's Phastos straps Icarus to the floor, he goes, I always wanted to clip your wings, Icarus, and I threw up in my living room. I just had to throw up in my living room.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty.
That's the thing with the fucking when he says it's over, I'm like, the hell it is. Like, what? How am I supposed to believe? Like, first of all, the whole thing with the deviants being able to kill them, what the fuck's that about? Like it's just like, oh yeah, you can. I guess it's just supposed to be under the rubric they evolve, so now they can kill you.
I guess so.
I guess, but still, like all the time, I'm just like, I don't understand who can kill who here at all.
Well, they don't like age and whatnot, but like if you went up to an Eternal like as a person and shot them in the head, like are they bulletproof?
Oh yeah,
like
they heal right back up. They're not dying from that.
I'm confused.
What proof do you have?
But they literally say they're immortal. Like if anything's gonna kill them, they wouldn't be able to die. Like,
well, Highlanders are immortals, but there's a very important weakness that they have.
Highlanders are well defined, Andrew. That's the problem.
Also that.
That's the ticket.
Early in the film, I forget which one, because there's fucking 15 or 10 or 70 of them.
Sure.
But one of them gets cut, and Ajax like touches them, and the wound heals. So maybe you need a special Eternal, the medic Eternal. I don't know.
I need a medic Eternal. So, Gemma Chan is trying to stop the Celestial, and Sprite shows up and stabs her in the back, and then Barry Keoghan just fucking hits her with a rock.
You know how surprising that was? I think they were expecting Sierra Mist.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, actually, wouldn't it be crazy if like Sprite's like, getting after her or whatever, and then it's like thunk, and her eyes roll back in her head, she falls forward, and oh my God, standing there with Thor's hammer is the little 7-Up spot guy.
Yes.
Because if anyone is worthy to fucking wield that hammer, it's the 7-Up spot guy.
That's a good point.
I stole this from the Noid.
Oh,
I mean, Sprite's a young girl. They should call her 7-Up. That's probably her age.
Yeah.
We should have done a series of 7-Up movies with the Eternals every 7 years for 2 million entries, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe every 700 years you check back in.
Yeah.
So yeah, Druig hits her with the rock. She falls down, and then Druig, man, again, dumb as donkey dick. He's just like, I can't do this. This is your fight now.
Okay.
And I'm like, why?
Yes, why?
Help her.
No.
They're a team. The fuck are you talking about?
Like, and it's fine that's the point, is that you want to like, that's, I understand, like in the writer's room, you've got a big whiteboard where it's like the big climax has to be Cersei versus Icarus because they have this history together, but you need to make that happen convincingly. You can't just be like, yeah, I hit somebody with a rock. I'm just going to take a knee here real quick.
Dude, yeah, all of these superheroes that are like passing the trash. It's like there's another way to have your new leader rise from all of this. And it's not by default.
I hit a little girl with a rock. I'm done for the day.
Yeah, you know, that Icarus didn't kill me or anything, but I feel like I have a nasty chest cold now from that. That definitely hurt me some way. I don't think I'm up for it, I gotta tell you. Maybe some chicken soup for me today.
But yeah, so this emergence starts happening.
Cool big hand coming out of a volcano.
I like the visuals here.
Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There is a fucking ridiculous thing though. We were complaining about the collateral damage. There's a thing where one of because it's like a head and then a bunch of fingers from a hand are sort of coming up out of the water, and when I don't know which part is coming where, I think it's one of the fingers is coming up, it creates like a whirlpool, and you see this island like totally go under, and it's like there's a couple of tiny little houses like here and there that you see fall into this huge whirlpool, but like conveniently, I guess everybody was on vacation and they're somewhere. You don't see any people. There's not even like a fucking clothesline with shirts on it or anything that would actually lead me to believe that sentient life lives on that island. And I was like, that's cheap. I need some fucking people, dude. I need someone like, whoa, I'm in a whirlpool now.
Yeah, just even if they're
I don't know why it was Don Knotts. I just did.
I'd like Don Knotts.
That's if he shows up, even you want to bring him back, CGI him, Tarkin him,
definitely
into this, and he's part of the Avengers now.
But yeah, so this whole emergence is going on, and Cersei starts like trying to do it, freeze this thing or turn it to marble, I guess is the idea. And the Unimind thing, the concept as I understand it, was like, if we join together in this Unimind, all our powers will consolidate and make us more powerful, and that should be enough to like fuck this thing over, put it to sleep, kill it, whatever they're trying to do. And as that's happening, Cersei, like Icarus comes up, but then like he gets caught up in the thing too, and now all of the Eternals are linked into this thing. And the big motherfucker turns to stone in the middle of the water, and that's it. And then, dude, the second this is over with, Icarus just starts crying.
What I want is when the Celestial emerges from the water and it's yellow. I want at least one of these Eternals like, holy fuck, it was the yellow one. I really thought it was gonna be green. I just had it in my head this whole time. I'm like, and then the green Celestial, it's a yellow one. Fuck, that's pretty cool.
All right, who had yellow in the Celestial birth pool?
So the tides are probably fine, right? Yeah, they're probably fine.
I told you, Drew, it wasn't going to be fuchsia, you fucking idiot. God.
It's my favorite color.
But yes, and this is great. He's so distraught because you let his love destroy a Celestial, his only purpose on this earth, and like a good robot, he's like, I'm gonna fucking fly right into the fucking sun,
dude. And so I guess this is the point where I should mention, so I saw this in the theater, and it wasn't due to interest in it. It was like it came out the same weekend, or maybe like the weekend after the new Lower Manhattan Alamo Draft House came out. And, I love checking out all sorts of theaters. So I was like, all right, I want to see how they're operating. Let me go down and check it out. When I tell you, I think I was sitting in the same row with all of the fans of the Eternals, like all five of them. All five of them were there, right? And man, I mean, they were, bless them, they were having a great time. It's fine. I you know what? However you find joy, as long as it's legal and not hurting anybody, sure. I'm okay with it. So they're enjoying it. I wasn't theater comedian. I was sitting there very quietly, just drinking a bunch of beer and eating my chips and everything. And they were kind of annoying, but whatever. It was their turf. I'm only visiting, right? So this fucking scene happens where this Icarus flies into the sun, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I just burst out laughing. And when I tell you the death stare that this guy gave me when I started, oh my God, because like that row of friends were heartbroken at what they were just seeing. And I was just belly laughing at this dude doing it. And this guy, you know, it didn't come down to this, but I feel like it, like a second or two, it crossed his mind, like, I'm going to sucker punch that guy when we walk out of the theater. He was so pissed off, but like, I'm sorry, it's the dumbest thing I saw all year.
Andrew, I mean, you should have honestly just slapped him with a white glove and tell him, you know, I'll see you out in the parking lot.
Oh, another thing that happened. So one of the dudes in the group of friends was Australian, and they had, before the movie, they had been, somehow it came up, and that's how I, like, other than hearing his voice, like, something, this dude was from Australia, and they were talking about it for some reason. I think it was in relation to, like, oh, COVID, I wish I could go back home, and like whatever it was. But at the part of the movie where they go to Gilgamesh and Thena's fucking hangout place, and the screen just goes Australia, one of the people that was with this guy was like, say, Dave, look. And I was like, oh my God.
See, Andrew, if you had read the 7 issues of the Eternals, you would have felt what they were going through when Icarus burns himself to death. Maybe if you had read all those 17 issues, how many were they?
19. But I mean,
19,
there's been more than that. Just the original Jack Kirby run, but most of them have been canceled. Most of the series.
Chris, to your point, also just this dude flying into the sun and crying about it. I need to see him like really get in there and start falling to pieces. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to see his robot skeleton.
Yeah, give me the gears.
And if that's what happens, and I mean, like, here's a problem because you got Gemma Chan down on the ground, does your boots on the ground. I need her to be fucking devastated. I need her to be like, yes, we won the day, but at what price? You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh my God, my immortal love of thousands of years that we were legally married. We never got legally divorced because that would also be a sin.
Oh wow, we're amping it up to Catholic. Huh? Interesting.
Our Catholic wedding ceremony.
I don't know, Steve. She's got ramen night to look forward to with her boyfriend back in
that's a good point.
Wherever the fuck, London.
But I mean, like, she's just like, well, that was something. And well, hey, Sprite, let me make you into a real girl because I have like, I basically, it's like in Mario when you get the star. Like, I've got like 6 minutes of awesome power.
Yeah.
Who wants what? Who wants what? I got 6 minutes. You want to be a real girl?
Burns is doped up or dying or something.
And man, it's just like the scene you described. I don't know if she could even deliver as an actress. Nope. And also, I'm a robot, so I don't need to do it.
Yeah, I guess so.
And what we're told here again, if it's a big if I am understanding this correctly, was that part of they realized like, oh, the failsafe that's built into this whole thing about why, you know, we can be present for the destruction of these planets, but we're not killed when the planet is exploding, is because much like how they connected together, they also, like, the Eternals are built to automatically connect with the Celestial that's being birthed.
Sure.
So they're like, you know, protected. But what they tell us here is that also wound up helping the Eternals to their advantage, because once they also connected with the Celestial, that boosted the power even more. So the funny thing is, this Celestial connected with them to protect them or whatever, and wound up actually committing suicide because it was the juice from that thing that powered it enough to kill it. It wasn't the Eternals. Like, yeah, they helped out, but like this giant Temud thing fucking killed itself basically.
You fucked it up.
And I mean, like, you know, not to, I actually, like I said before, I will be clear. I'm glad that there's no other MCU connections in this. But this fucking robot head comes out of the ocean, and no one's like, the War Machine is just sitting on his hands. Nobody's like,
totally.
You want to check
Thor,
out?
Pick up the fucking phone.
See what's going. I know whoever's on. After Endgame, I know everyone's scattered, but there are superheroes on the planet that would be like, you hear about that big old head there? Like, what's going on with that big old head?
But should we go check that out? You think, or
Steve, can I ask you something with Endgame? Do you remember it at all?
Yeah, I actually just rewatched it.
Okay, is the world engine that thing that Peter Dinklage is up in?
Oh, good. It's not the same thing. I think it's
not. Okay.
He's like a super troll and something.
Gotcha.
Super troll.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know why Super Troll is so funny.
It's good. It's better than Pip the Troll, I'll tell you.
It's a giant troll. It's fantastic.
So whatever, that's the end of it. She becomes a real girl. Everybody breaks up. We have a fun quote unquote scene at Phastos's house where Angelina Jolie, again, it's just like she's drunk this entire time. It's like, look at this kid. She tries to put her hand in a toaster, which makes
but
it shouldn't have. I know I shouldn't have.
After watching this movie, I almost put my hand in a toaster.
I was gonna put my head in the oven, dude.
That would take some of the pain away. And Phastos is like, you lost babysitting privileges. LOL.
Here's the thing about that line, because it really irks me. It says 2 weeks later, we're in South Dakota, by the way.
Eating some of the worst pizza I've ever seen. Holy shit. You see this shit?
Dude,
These little fucking rock garbage.
Dude, that should be against the law.
We're gonna
calling that pizza.
We're gonna get hate for making fun of that pizza.
Whatever, it looks terrible. It's dumb movie pizza.
That's the pizza most people eat. They just pour ranch dressing on it. Spaghetti sauce, whatever else they find laying around the house, macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, some unknown terrible chain of pizzerias called like Pizza House.
Yeah.
That's been all over the Midwest that I just don't know about, but is terrible. And they're just eating it up in this. Well, no, they're in Chicago. They should be having good pizza. What the fuck?
They're not in Chicago. That's what I'm saying. They're in South Dakota. It says 2 weeks later, South Dakota.
Sorry.
I think they're hanging out at
Ajax
house.
Yeah, they're looting the fucking place. They realize a lot of good shit there.
The thing with that fucking line, though, Steve, about the earmuffs, it makes no sense. Like, parents do earmuffs when it's like, you're gonna swear in front of a kid or just like something they shouldn't hear, or whatever. But it's like, yeah, Angelina Jolie, like, the kid is like, what's your powers? And she makes this big trident out of nowhere and like stabs through this orange that the kid's trying to get off a shelf or whatever. Yeah. And Phastos sees it and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he comes in and he goes, earmuffs, and then turns to her and goes, your babysitting rights are revoked. And I was like, what did you need to fucking call in earmuffs for that for?
No. So Thina Mikari, who's done 2 things in this movie, and Druig are like, hey, you want to have a throuple in space? Like, sounds great. They fuck off to find other Eternals. And yeah, like, again, Gemma Chan is like, wow, that was a really impressive time for me being an Eternal. Hey, Kingo, what are you up to? He's like, well, I'm going to keep being Kingo, I guess. Mm-hmm. And
bad Kingo line here. I had to write it down because I almost fucking threw up myself, where Gemma Chan is like, kind of like, sort of like second guessing herself. Like, geez, I don't know. I feel like I kind of cocked that up a little bit. And Kingo goes, you followed your heart. We all did. And I was like, 1, gross, but 2, so you followed your heart when you fucking left all of your friends to figure out this whole thing and left the movie, dude?
So but here's the thing. It's like, he's like, this would be a relationship ending rift. A1, you, the Eternals, have stopped the Celestial, and that's a huge problem because billions of lives are never going to get born for this shitheel planet that I hate. Or B, you left us fucking high and dry fighting a Celestial, you piece of shit. I'm never speaking to you again.
Yep, exactly. It's insane that they just act like he didn't do the shittiest thing ever at the worst possible time. I just don't understand it.
And then they just get, and here's the thing again, like, you want to be my latex salesman, the movie needs to end. You can't have them get sucked into space and have a next time gadget. This sequence drove me nuts. This whole like
it's interesting. Because I feel like, Steve, there's a difference between, at least how I see it, a sequel setup, which is what I believe this is,
yes,
and what a lot of these movies feel like, and it's not just the MCU, where it's like you're spending a large portion of the movie being like, get ready for the next one. I feel like this movie, for what it is, they're like, oh shit, this Celestial's going to be birthed through the earth and everyone's going to die. We don't want that to happen. And they do stop it. So I would just put out there, part of my argument is like, this movie does finish, and then there is just this sequel setup tacked onto the end of it. I don't know.
It does come closest, I think, that if there is one bright side to any of this, it is that I almost felt like this. But like they had already melded that so well in by like Iron Man 2 is the only really egregious one, and all the other ones you kind of get used to it. Mm-hmm. But like this one, I just kind of felt like by the end of it, when it actually happened, I'm like, these are the two energizing moments in this movie out of a movie that is not energizing at all.
Yeah, they get zapped up, and he's like, well, you're gonna hear it from the Celestial Court or something.
yeah.
And it happened.
He gives him a ticket.
It happened so quickly. I had to look on Wikipedia. I wasn't sure if Sprite was with them. I didn't know who actually got zapped into space. She's not. It's just Kingo and what's her face and Gemma Chan, right?
Yeah, it's Kingo, Cersei, and
yes,
and Faustus, I believe, is the other one. Is the other guy there?
Yes.
Yeah. I think the thing with Sprite is like, well, she's not an Eternal
That's
anymore,
right.
so he's kind of like unconcerned with all that. But Steve, the thing that does drive me crazy about this sequence is it's intercut with like how it starts is Gemma Chan's back in London with Kit Harington there, and they're like kind of walking in the park and whatever, and she gets like pulled up. I do really like the shot of the Celestial peering through the clouds. That's, I think, really well done. But then what's so annoying is like after it's like, and you will be judged. Your day in space court is 60 days from the day put on the ticket. Good day. And like, instead of them seeing them get zapped back down to Earth, like it just cuts back to London, and there's Kit Harington walking around like, Cersei, where'd you go? Cersei. And the last thing you see of the movie proper, not including stingers, is just a close-up of Kit Harington.
Yes.
And I'm like,
he wasn't in the movie.
What are you?
Who cares?
What are you doing? What are you
because
doing?
They are in space, but the good news is, yes, 6 out of 10 Celestials don't even show up for the ticket, so then you get right off.
Yeah.
The thing is, you do want to show up. The Celestials almost never show up.
The Celestial officer has to be there that day.
So then just to really quickly touch on the two stingers, the first one is the Domo is flying out in space, and you have Druig, Thena, and Makari like kind of getting ready to see all kind of positions they can get up to and whatnot on their long space voyage.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
And here comes Patton Oswalt, farts through some kind of fucking gateway of some kind, which it's like, by the way, if it's this easy to just like board your ship, Eternals, how about some shields?
Yeah.
Oh, you wanted shields on your ship. Oh, no, my friend. No, Celestial. We're going to have to talk about this.
And here comes, Pip is the character. And he's basically like the hype man.
Yeah.
I guess is the idea here for Eros. So in comes Prince of Titan, brother of Thanos, defeater of Black Roger, Star Fox of Mystery Planet, Eros. And man, Harry Styles just comes in, and I was like, wish I was watching this movie, whatever adventures these two are
he's like,
to.
oh, I know where your friends are, and I know how to get them back. Yeah. And it's like, okay.
And he's got the gold, he's got, I guess, a gold ball. Or maybe it's Gemma Chan's gold ball. I don't know. He's throwing it in his hand.
It's gonna be either the Thor movie or Guardians 3. I can't tell.
So did you ever see a blue Celestial? Whoa, fuck, that must be crazy. A blue one. Shit. I can't. No, I mean, I've seen the yellow. We saw yellow, and I was like, fucking, whoa.
One time, I thought I saw a magenta one. Turns out I was just really high.
I saw a teal one off of Alpha Centauri, and I gotta tell you, disappointing.
And then
yes.
Oh, and then the last stinger. Because I mean, like in this scene with, Kit Harington was in 1.5 scenes. The last scene is him with Gemma Chan. He's like, "Oh yeah, I have a pretty complicated family." And literally, I've looked this up 3 times who Dane Whitman is in the Marvel universe, and I've forgotten each time. And now I remember. Now it's the Black Knight, which is a C-level Avenger at best.
Did you notice that they also make a nod to his criminal uncle early on?
Oh, yes.
That is the first Black Knight.
Oh,
because Gemma Chan says something when she's trying to tell him, it's on this fucking FaceTime call or whatever, where she's like, "You should probably call your uncle," or whatever. So let me tell you, cut back to me at the theater. These fucking nerds are sitting here, right? This Kit Harington scene's happening. This woman, the same one who exclaimed to the Australian that the screen said Australia, same person. She's on the edge of her seat, this Kit Harington scene, and she just starts going, "Talk about your family. Mention your family. Mention your family. And she keeps saying it. And I'm like, oh my God. This woman is the only person in the theater that knows what the hell's going on. And I have to say, at that point, unlike many Marvel movies that I've attended in theaters, a lot of clear out before them stinger scenes.
Really?
Yeah, I believe it.
Yep.
Because like, who could possibly give a shit at this point? But at the same time, I don't know, like a guy that dresses like a knight with a sword.
Oh, sure.
I'm in.
I'll watch that.
And
Disney+
the sword that he has, by the way, and this is Wikipedia. I do not know this, and I did not ask the woman after the screening, but it's apparently, and they reference it earlier in the film, it's something called the Ebony Blade, which is like the reverse of Excalibur, because when they're on the Domo and Angelina Jolie, I think, is messing around with the sword, someone's like, "Oh, is that the Ebony Blade?" And she's like, "No, it's Excalibur." So I guess this is...
The woman's like, "Talk about your family. Talk about your family."
But in that scene, Andrew, Sprite was like, "Oh yeah, Arthur really liked you." So like Arthur was like plowing Athena or something.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I'd watch that. Where's that fucking flashback?
Like Sprite was
huh?
being a little creep, like hanging out in the closet. That's what that thing's been doing for hundreds of years. Thank God that thing can finally hit puberty in 4 or 5 years.
Now that's a king.
That would be the line.
Now I'm just thinking about this person watching like The Godfather. Talk about your family. Talk about your family. Do it. Oh,
Dude,
do it.
She's watching fucking Christmas Vacation. Talk about your family.
Talk about your family. Glenn Griswold.
Well, yeah, in the first episode of the Black Knight Disney Plus series where Chris Cooper plays Nathaniel Garrett.
Oh, yeah.
Then she'll be saying, "No, he's talking about his family. Oh, he's talking about his family."
Listen, when he goes to like touch that blade, she fucking lost her mind.
God,
and then speaking of Blade, you just hear a voice that like only confirmed by Chloé Zhao herself. It's not credited anywhere. I don't know if they've confirmed it since, but you just hear, "Sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?"
Yeah.
And Chloé Zhao has said that is Mahershala.
It
as
sounds
Blade.
like him.
It does.
But like, and I guess that sort of fits-ish because I don't know if Blade ever interacted with the Black Knight, but I know that Blade.
Come on, Andrew. It's a blade.
Yeah, I mean, I
It's
guess
a blade
that's
right
true.
there on the table. It's got to be Blade.
I did read a pretty rad Blade run from a while back. It was just, I got one of those like compendium things on my iPad. Blade definitely running around chasing Dracula at one point.
Oh yeah, dude.
Nice.
They were mortal enemies.
Those fucking Blade comics, I have to say,
The 70s
like
ones.
it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good. And then all of the Marvel extension shit that they did about just Dracula, like they had a whole line of Dracula comics
That's nice.
in the 70s, and it's just Dracula going around having adventures. It
I love
kind of
that.
fucking
Can we
rocks.
just
It really
do a
rocks.
Dracula movie in the MCU?
There is we should do it because it's one of the craziest animes I've ever seen.
Oh, yep.
It was requested on this request month actually, but it wasn't picked. It's a Dracula movie from like the early 80s that is based on that line of comics, and they basically try to like fit 70 issues of comics into like 68 minutes, and you can feel it, and it's just the craziest thing in the world. There's angels. It's just, it gets nuts.
Dude, I've seen a good chunk of that. I think I like fell asleep, but like That movie is like, if you ever wanted to figure out like the sensation of being on coke, but you didn't want to risk doing coke, watch that because it's so unhinged and wild that like I was totally on board for what I saw. But I think the problem was I was watching it on like a bogus like YouTube rip and it just looks shitty. And like,
I don't think
it's hard for me to hold interest and attention when something looks that bad.
Dracula Sovereign of the Damned, 1980, by the way.
There it is.
And there's so then on a date with a girl last night. You know, I was talking about work and different stuff, and she just said, "Talk about your family. Talk about your family. Talk about your family."
Well, I think we've talked about this Eternals family for long enough. We're starting to edge in on the actual runtime of the film, so we'll go around recommendations and final thoughts. Eric Sisko, we'll start with you.
That's not usual. I go first today. So I think it's unforgivable that this movie is just an absolute snooze. And I really think that like it made me reappreciate, I guess, Zack Snyder because his bad Xerox version of his ideas throughout this film. But I do think we need like a come to Jesus moment with some of the Marvel fans. Like, it's okay to be critical of an IP that you like. Like, we're doing the Book of Boba Fett on Patreon. I've been very forgiving of certain few first episodes, but like the show is just not that good. And I have to grapple with that. So you can grapple with maybe not every single fucking movie is an A+, and you can just chill out for a second.
So that's a recommend you got there?
That's a
yeah, it sounds like you got a recommend on
it's
your hands
really
there.
It's not for me. I really despise this movie, and I actually think this is the worst movie we did this month. And I'll include Space Jam in that equation because Space Jam is a lot shorter and at least there's some spectacle of some degree, and this is just a dour, drab bore.
Chris Cabot.
Absolutely to everything Eric said there. I can't stomach this. To me, it is representative of what we're going to be seeing from them is now they want to be taken seriously. It's not enough to be, rich and to own like all the fucking theater space that's going to be given for the next decade. No. They also have to be honored by the Academy, and that's very important. And we all care a lot about that, about those goals. Even beyond that, even, just as it is like the movie doesn't work. I didn't care about anybody in it. The good actors kind of fade into the background, and it's written really poorly. Big no from me.
Steve Sadak.
Big no for me as well. I kind of tried to come into this as open, as I was reading that Eternals book, I'm like, I'm going to really give it a shot. And it lost me really quickly. It's the lack of color. It's the lack of charisma for the actors. It's the way too many characters. It's all the stuff we talked about. It's the lack of Kirby stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I think that I actually don't think there's a better version of this movie. Honestly, I think it's a TV show. I don't think this should have ever been a film. And like, just the lack of one thing is the action is a problem. Like the action scenes are. I was thinking about Matrix Resurrections, which is an amazing movie, by the way. Almost our We Love Movies, but Dune just edged it out. But like the way Lana Wachowski like uses the city and uses the action to move the story forward is something that never happens in these Marvel movies. And it's really indicative in this one because the deviants don't even matter. So like it's like movie, deviant fight that does nothing, movie. And it's just kind of a shame, and it's a slog. But I would rather watch this than Space Jam. But this movie does make Infinite look like fucking Highlander. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I would say anything, different from the criticisms that have already been, weighed. I agree with all of it. I like Chloé Zhao as a director quite a bit. I was not on the Nomadland despise train like a lot of people were. I've seen all of her movies. This is far and away the worst thing she's done. I really hope that, she can kind of go back and tell like great human stories again, because I think she's very good at that. And I like her style. I don't think it's appropriate in this kind of movie. I really don't. Not that it's inappropriate. It didn't work for me. And also, to put it out there, we are, of course, always very critical of, the MCU and yada yada. But like, I will say there were 4 MCU movies that came out this year. I saw all 4 of them in theaters. And to be perfectly honest with you, I liked 3 of them to varying degrees.
Yes.
I think Shang-Chi is the best of the bunch. I had a fucking blast with that movie. Although, Steve, as you pointed out, I think like it does suffer from that same, like, here's just a big fart monster at the end. And, Black Widow, I had fun with. That was one of my first returns back to theaters. I saw it in IMAX. I had fun with that movie. I'm the outlier here. I think I liked Spider-Man the most out of the 4 of us. I had a lot of fun with that movie too. The MCU's batting average for me this year is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And this movie is not. And also to toss in there, to be fair to everything, also really dug Hawkeye. I did. So like, I liked a lot of fucking MCU property this year, folks. This one, just no. And it's not even a seeing is believing thing. Go see The Rider. Chloe Zhao's The Rider. That's a movie you should go fucking see instead. But that is going to do it for our convo on Eternals. It's going to do it also for some of the worst of the previous year month here on We Hate Movies, which means starting next week, we are back to original programming. But before we get to that, of course, be sure to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/WeHateMovies. We got a big old honkin' WLM episode up now, all on Denis Villeneuve's Dune. That's a big, dense sci-fi property we had a lot of fun with. Let's see, we got an animation damnation on Little Ellen, if you can even believe that exists.
It does indeed. We have
Eric, who we talking about? Oh, sorry, Chris.
I was going to say we have a Melrose 210. That's out now, I believe.
Big one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's out.
Yes. A very spicy one. Yeah, a big one for everybody.
And just what's going on with the Gleep Glossary?
Well, the Gleep Glossary this month, our Star Wars Shine Show. We are talking about Dengar, kind of a little bit of a deep dive, a riff with you guys, and then I do a special book report at the end because I finally decided to sit down and read that short story about him, which I did enjoy. So it's a big Dengar episode for you folks, and it's going to be very illuminating for people watching Book of Boba Fett to see how the 90s EU contradicts what is going on now.
And of course, the Nexus returned this month to its regularly scheduled programming, where we indeed will kick off the 3rd and final season of TOS, which is pretty wild. I believe the episode is Spock's Brain we'll be talking about, but so much stuff on that Patreon. So get on over there if you're not subscribed, patreon.com/WeHateMovies. Now, here on the main feed, of course, We Hate Movies Prime continues next week. And Steve, now that we're back to our regularly scheduled programming, what film are we going to be talking about?
We are putting on a comfortable pair of old jeans in 1996's Big Bully.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, dude. We are talking Tom Arnold and Rick Moranis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Hell yeah.
Oh, this was a movie we were going to do like maybe 2 years ago or last year. And like, it turned out it wasn't streaming anywhere, but good news, the gods sung upon us, and here we go, Big Bully streaming once again.
I'm going to put that on Kingo. I think Kingo did that. Kingo did that. He made it so that Big Bully was on the stream.
That's why he left the big fight, is he had to get Big Bully back on streaming.
Well, all hail Kingo for getting Big Bully back on streaming, and next week we'll be talking about it up and down. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I'm very excited. But so until next week, with, Tom Arnold making a return to the program, and Rick Moranis returning after just a few short weeks away. I'm Andrew Jupin.
Steven Sadak.
Eric Siska.
Chris Gavin.
Take it easy.
That was a HeadGum podcast.